My beloved child, come close. Settle your spirit and let the frantic rushing of the world fall away, just for this moment. I know why you are here. I see the quiet, hidden question residing deep within your soul, the one you are often too afraid to voice even in the stillness of the night. It echoes in the hollow spaces where anxiety tries to build its nest. The question is this: did I go too far? Have I finally done something, or failed to do something, that has placed me outside the boundary of your love and protection? You carry burdens of past failures, dear one, like heavy stones worn smooth by constant worry. You replay moments of regret, words spoken in haste, opportunities missed, and wounds inflicted upon yourself or others. And in those moments of self-reproach, a dark whisper tries to convince you that the line has been crossed, that your mistakes are too monumental, your flaws too numerous, and that this time, my patience, my grace, must surely have reached its limit. You believe that your unworthiness acts as a barrier, a wall separating you from the very peace and security you crave. But listen to me now, my precious one, with every fiber of your being. Let the sound of my voice be the only truth you permit to enter your heart. I am your Father, the source of all light, and I know your beginning and your end. And I tell you this: nothing, absolutely nothing you have ever done, are doing, or ever will do, can remove you from my grace. I did not offer my love based on your perfection. I offered it based on my very nature. Grace is not a reward earned by flawless obedience. It is a permanent state of acceptance, a gift freely given, like the air you breathe and the sun that rises without your permission. It is a promise signed in eternity. I know the fear of abandonment is real. The world teaches you that relationships are transactional. You perform, you are accepted. You fail, you are rejected. But I am not the world. My commitment to you is not fragile. It is an unshakable mountain, an eternal sea. I created you for love, and I sustain you in love. If you believe your struggles have dimmed your light in my eyes, you must understand the power of the light itself. If you think your journey is too messy for my presence, you must understand the magnitude of my grace. Today, we will dismantle those heavy stones of guilt and fear, one by one. I am going to show you, not just tell you, the radical, life-altering truth of your permanent position in my heart. Your past does not define your destiny. Your failures do not disqualify your future. You are fully seen, fully known, and irrevocably loved. This journey together is your restoration. Open your heart wide, my dearest. We begin by silencing the echo of the lie that tells you that you are unworthy. My beloved child, let us continue to move through the deepest corridors of your heart. In our first moments, we acknowledge the central fear, the fear that you are outside of my embrace. Now, we must confront the source of that fear, which I call the echo of a lie. You see, precious one, I never once taught you to measure your worth by your performance. I never designed your spirit to carry the crushing weight of perfectionism. Yet, from 1,000 subtle inputs throughout your life, from human institutions, comparisons with others, and even well-meaning but flawed voices, you internalized a devastating decree. You are only valuable when you are successful, holy, or whole. This is the echo of a lie that resonates whenever you stumble. Imagine your heart as a magnificent, finely tuned instrument. When you were created, it played a pure, clear note of belonging and intrinsic value. But the world, in its brokenness, has struck false chords against that instrument. When you made a mistake, the world echoed, "See, you are deficient." And you were hurt by others. The wound whispered, "You must have deserved it." When you tried your best and still fell short, the exhaustion convinced you you are simply not enough. This lie of unworthiness is one of the enemy's most sophisticated traps. It doesn't try to make you hate me. It tries to make you hate yourself and doubt my goodness. It tells you that your sin is too visible, your struggle too persistent, and that you must hide or work tirelessly to regain my favor. But how can you regain what you never lost? Think of a small child, my dearest. When the child falls and scrapes a knee, does a loving parent calculate the severity of the scrape before offering comfort? Does the parent withdraw love until the child performs a complex act of apology or penance? No. The parent rushes to the child, scoots them up, cleans the wound, and holds them close. The love is instant, unconditional, and immediate. You are the child, and I am that father, infinitely more capable of perfect love. When I look at you, I see the masterpiece I created. The moments you call failure are merely the places where the clay was stretched or softened during the firing process. They are not flaws, they are character marks. They are the history of a life lived, a life dared. My grace does not look away from your mistakes. My grace looks past your mistakes and sees the pure intention of your spirit, the longing in your soul to walk in the light. The power of the lie is that it convinces you that you must fix yourself before approaching me. It creates a false hierarchy. First, self-improvement. Second, acceptance. But my reality is the reverse. First, acceptance. Second, transformation. My acceptance is the very power that heals you and makes you whole. Let's dismantle this lie using one of the most common allegories of your world, the tale of a traveler and the river. The traveler carried a heavy backpack, convinced that crossing the vast river of life required a perfect, dry path and a flawless stride. Every time the traveler slipped in the mud or got wet, the weight of the backpack, the weight of self-judgment, became unbearable, making the next step harder. But I, the river keeper, never asked the traveler to walk on water. I offered a ferry, free of a charge. The ferry is my grace. It is designed to carry the heavy load, the anxiety, the regret, the shame, for you. The lie of unworthiness is the internal voice screaming, "You must build your own boat. You must carry your own baggage. You must earn the crossing." I declare over you right now, my precious one, you are worthy because I created you. Your worth is inherent, not earned. It is a fundamental property of your existence. To feel unworthy is to reject my primary decree over your life. It is to say, my mistake is bigger than your mercy. I want you to release the need to judge your internal state. Stop constantly taking your spiritual temperature, asking, "Am I worthy today? Did I do enough good deeds to qualify?" That constant scrutiny is exhausting and fruitless. Instead, rest in the simple truth. You are my child, and my children are always welcomed home. You see how insidious the lie is. It steals your peace, distracts you from your purpose, and keeps you running on a treadmill of self-justification. It attempts to redefine my nature, to turn me from a loving father into a demanding accountant. This is why we must address it head-on. Know this, I have already paid the price for every single error, every stumble, every deviation. When I look at you, I see you through the lens of that ultimate sacrifice, a lens of perfect and complete acceptance. Your past is not an issue for me. It is only an issue when you allow the echo of that lie to dominate your present. Take a deep, cleansing breath, my beloved. Acknowledge the lie you've been carrying. Name it silently in your heart. I believed I was not enough. Now, listen as my truth silences that noise. You are loved. You are chosen. You are enough. You are worthy, and no human failure or misstep can ever diminish the vast, infinite expanse of my acceptance. We move next to understanding the true, magnificent nature of this gift. My dearest, having silenced the loud echo of unworthiness, we can now step fully into the pure, refreshing light of my grace. This is the truth that will heal and sustain you. So listen closely to what I reveal about the nature of this most precious gift. When I speak of my grace, I am not talking about a temporary pardon or a conditional contract. I am speaking of my unconditional yes over your entire existence. Grace is not just something I give. Grace is fundamentally who I am in relationship to you. It is the perpetual, unchanging posture of my heart. Imagine my grace as a vast, powerful ocean. You, my child, are a ship sailing upon it. Sometimes your sailing is smooth, your sails are taut, and the ship moves with effortless purpose. At other times, you find yourself caught in a terrible squall, the winds of fear, the waves of regret, the heavy rains of mistake. You might fear that the storm will push you out of the sea entirely, or that the current will cease to hold you. But the nature of an ocean is that it is always there. Even if the surface is turbulent, the profound depth remains, holding everything securely. My grace is that ocean. It holds you in the good times and the difficult times. It is not dependent upon the skill of your sailing, but upon the sheer, massive presence of the water itself. This is the great secret of my love. It is non-reciprocal. You do not have to give me something back to keep it flowing. Think of the sun. Does the sun ask the earth to perform a specific ritual before it agrees to rise and shine its warmth? No. The sun simply shines because shining is its nature. I simply love you because loving you is my eternal nature. Your good deeds do not increase my love, just as your struggles do not decrease it. The measure of my love for you has already reached its maximum, its infinite capacity, for all time. I want you to let this radical idea sink into the deepest places where doubt still clings. Grace means your sins are not a secret I must overlook. They are a debt I have already canceled. You are not living on probation, waiting for the next slip-up to disqualify you. You are living in a state of final, irreversible reconciliation. Your mistakes are swallowed up by the immensity of my pardon. When I look upon you, I see the light I placed within you, radiating brightly, untouched by the temporary shadows of human error. The world teaches you to strive. It demands effort, sacrifice, and endless proving. But I invite you to rest. My grace is the antidote to the disease of striving. It is the permission slip you never knew you needed to be fully and completely human, flawed, messy, learning, growing, and yet, simultaneously, fully accepted. This rest is not passive resignation. It is active trust. It is the courageous act of choosing to believe my truth about you over the harsh, demanding lies the world tries to impose. When you truly understand the non-reciprocal nature of this love, it changes everything. The motivation for living a good life shifts entirely. You stop living in order to earn my approval, and you start living from the abundance of my already given approval. You are not trying to get into my heart. You are simply responding to the fact that you are already there, enshrined and beloved. This creates a cascade of freedom, replacing guilt with gratitude and obligation with devotion. My grace gives you the power to change, not the pressure to change. The healing begins when you stop trying to fix your brokenness in isolation and instead invite my wholeness into your broken places. Know that this love is your heritage, my child, and it is a love that absolutely no external power or internal failing can ever interrupt. This is the certainty that anchors your soul. My precious one, The world is built upon shifting sand. Its promises are temporal, its foundation susceptible to the first storm. But the grace we are exploring together, your permanent position in my heart, rests upon a foundation so solid, so vast, that the combined forces of anxiety, doubt, and human failure cannot even cause it to tremble. I call this the unshakable foundation of your identity. It is built not on your performance, but on my absolute, sovereign decree. Think of it this way. When a skilled architect designs a towering skyscraper, the entire weight and integrity of that structure do not rest on the aesthetic beauty of the windows or the flawless finish of the marble. It rests entirely on the foundational columns sunk deep into the bedrock, often unseen, but absolutely essential. Your life, my beloved child, is that skyscraper. The foundation is my commitment to you, cemented by eternal truth. It is my word that declares you are chosen, adopted, and sealed by a love that requires nothing from you except acceptance. The greatest source of instability in a human heart is the feeling that acceptance is always conditional, that the ground beneath you might suddenly give way. This is the root of fear and the constant pressure to be perfect. You live your life checking the weather, bracing for the inevitable day when you've disappointed me too much, and I withdraw my hand. But I want you to look back at the grand design. I knew every mistake you would make, every moment you would stumble, and every doubt that would plague your mind, before I spoke you into existence. And still, I created you, and still, I declared you good. Your failures were already accounted for in the finished work of my love. They do not surprise me, nor do they diminish my commitment. When you attempt to earn my grace, you are trying to build the structure of your life on the shifting sands of your own fluctuating strength. You will inevitably be exhausted, and when you fall, you will be crushed by the weight of your own expectation. But when you rest on my foundation, you realize that your inherent value is independent of your mood, your success, or your struggle. You are loved because I am loved, not because you are lovable. Let us use a simple, powerful allegory. Imagine a king who adopts a child from a distant, impoverished land. A child is brought into the palace, dressed in royal robes, given a seat at the royal table, and granted the full inheritance of the kingdom. Now, if that adopted child stumbles while running through the garden, breaks an expensive vase, or speaks a cross word out of childhood temper, does the king then banish the child, strip them of their robes, and send them back to the impoverished land? Of course not. The king corrects them, comforts them, and loves them through the mistake, because their position is based entirely on the king's choice, not the child's behavior. Their identity is sealed by adoption. My dearest one, you are that adopted child. Your status as my beloved is a matter of decree, not performance. This is the unshakable foundation I speak of. You are not a temporary guest in my kingdom. You are a permanent heir. The vase-breaking moments of your life, the temper flares, the poor choices, these are corrected with gentle love and instruction, but they never, ever threaten the security of your inheritance. This truth is meant to liberate you. When you stop striving to maintain your place, you can finally begin to live your purpose. The energy you spend worrying about being accepted can now be channeled into creating, serving, and experiencing the abundant life I have designed for you. I want you to feel the security of this foundation deep within your bones. When the lie whispers, "You are failing," your spirit can now respond with the absolute certainty, "My security is not in my flawless step, but in my Father's unshakable promise." This truth gives you the courage to risk, to be vulnerable, and to grow, because you know that even if you fall onto the soft, forgiving cushion of my grace. Rest in the finality of this foundational truth, precious one. You are safe. You are secure. You are eternally mine. My beloved child, if the previous truths established your unshakable foundation, this truth is the anchor in the storm of regret. Regret is a heavy, treacherous emotion. It is the backward-looking pain that tries to convince you that your best days are behind you, sealed off by past choices you cannot undo. Regret holds you hostage to yesterday, preventing you from embracing the boundless potential of today. I see the moments you replay in your mind, the words you wish you could snatch back, the opportunities you let slip, the paths you chose that led to pain. These memories rise up like huge, dark waves, threatening to capsize your peace. But I want you to understand the divine architecture of my grace concerning your past. Grace does not merely forgive your past. It rewrites your present and liberates your future from its grip. When I declared that nothing can remove you from my grace, I included every single detail of your history, every misstep, and every failure. For me, your past is not a heavy chain. It is a dissolved fact, a story whose ending has been gloriously changed by my unconditional love. Let us consider the nature of an anchor. An anchor is not used to secure a ship to the past dock it just left. An anchor is dropped into the seabed to hold the ship steady in the present moment, preventing the winds and currents of the sea from pushing it off course. My grace functions as your spiritual anchor. It is dropped not into the turbulent sea of your past mistakes, but into the solid, unchanging nature of my promises. When the storm of regret rages and the wind screams, "Look at what you did," you can never recover. You are held fast by the knowledge that my grace is bigger than your worst memory. I have not merely overlooked your mistakes, I have removed them entirely. They are, in my sight, cast into the deepest sea, never to be remembered against you. To wallow in guilt at regret is, unintentionally, to challenge the completeness of my finished work. It is to say, the price I paid for your freedom was insufficient. I must still carry this burden. And that is a lie you must cast off, my dear one. Your role is not to self-punish. Your role is to accept the perfect pardon I have already issued. Think of a field that was once damaged by fire. The scars are visible on the earth, but with time, nourishment, and rain, new life, greener, stronger, and more beautiful, begins to grow from the very soil that was burned. The past fire is part of the story, but the present reality is the bloom. My grace takes the burned-out places in your soul, the parts scarred by regret, and it pours my living water over them, generating a new season of hope and purpose. Your mistakes do not disqualify your purpose. They often become the very soil from which your deepest empathy and most powerful testimony spring. A way out of the storm of regret is to shift your focus. Stop looking at the wake behind the ship, the churning water of where you've been, and start looking at the horizon I am guiding you toward. Every day is a fresh start, not because you earned a reset, but because my mercy is new every morning. This is your divine permission slip to let go. Lay down the heavy burden of what if and embrace the freedom of what is now, which is, you are free. My dearest, do not turn away now. Stay with me, for what comes next is the key you have been praying for. The revelation of how my grace turns every weakness you possess into a wellspring of divine strength. You are on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding the great exchange I have already performed in your life. Do not cut this journey short. The full measure of peace I have prepared for you awaits those who finish this divine appointment. If these words have brought peace to your striving spirit, I invite you to bless this message with a like, confirming its truth in your heart. Share this message with 3 souls who need to be set free from the grip of regret. And if you wish to continually receive these deep truths that anchor your soul, subscribe to this channel now. Let us spread this vital message of my unconditional grace to inspire and reach more hearts. My precious one, the journey into grace leads us now to one of the most magnificent transactions in the history of existence, a process I call the Great Exchange. This is not a concept for intellectual debate. It is an intimate reality for your daily life. It is the moment where you trade in your heaviest burdens for my profound and sustaining lightness. I see the invisible weight you carry, the burden of trying to measure up, the pressure of maintaining a facade of perfection, the crushing anxiety that whispers, "If they only knew the truth about me, this weight is not yours to bear." It was never intended to be. The lie we discussed earlier demands that you carry your own load, believing that penance is required for peace. But my truth declares that I have already enacted a definitive exchange. This exchange is simple, radical, and complete. I take your burden, and I give you my lightness. I take your shame, and I give you my honor. I take your brokenness, and I give you my wholeness. I take your effort, and I give you my rest. Think of it using the powerful image of two vessels. One vessel is yours, filled to the brim with a sticky, heavy substance, the residue of fear, the bitterness of past hurts, the darkness of self-condemnation, and the sweat of ceaseless striving. It is too heavy for you to lift, let alone carry forward on your journey. The second vessel is mine. It is radiant, filled with a substance that is light, warm, and flowing, the gentle oil of my peace, the fragrant water of my forgiveness, and the sustaining manna of my presence. The Great Exchange is me gently inviting you to tip over your heavy vessel and allow me to empty its contents completely. You don't have to strain to do it. You just have to consent to let it go. Once emptied, I then fill you, not with a partial measure, but completely, with my lightness. This lightness is the feeling of knowing that you are fully, completely accepted, right now, just as you are. It is the relief that comes from realizing the pressure is off, the pressure to earn, to perfect, to perform. When you walk in this lightness, your entire posture changes. The striving ceases. You find that the tasks you once approached with dread and exhaustion are now energized by a joyful motivation, not a desperate obligation. You are no longer fueled by fear of failure, but by the overflowing gratitude of acceptance. This is the abundant life I promised, a life lived from a place of surplus of grace, not a deficit of worth. I want you to stop and examine your current state, my beloved child. Where is the heaviness concentrated right now? Is it in the pit of your stomach when you think of tomorrow? Is it a tightness in your chest when you recall a conversation? Is it a dull ache in your shoulders from carrying the weight of being in control? Name that burden, and in this quiet moment, consciously hand it over to me. Picture me reaching out, taking that invisible weight from you, and replacing it with something infinitely lighter, something that sustains rather than strains. The profound beauty of this exchange is that it is a permanent, standing invitation. You do not make the exchange once and never need it again. No, my dear one, as long as you are living in this world, heavy things will try to cling to you. The moment you feel the return of that burden, the anxiety, the guilt, the striving, my invitation is instantly renewed. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. My grace is the perpetual resting place, the constant source of lightness. Embrace the truth that your weakness is the perfect opportunity for my strength to manifest. Your emptiness is the perfect space for my fullness to flow. Let go of the heavy striving, my child, and live in the radiant, sustaining lightness of my finished work. This is the freedom of grace. My beloved child, As we continue to bask in the radiant truth of my unconditional grace, we must confront one of the most persistent thieves of your peace: fear. Fear is not a mere emotion. It is a spiritual weapon designed to distract you, to shrink your potential, and to prevent you from fully receiving the light I have poured into your life. It tries to operate as a shadow, a creeping darkness that dissipates when the light of my truth is fully embraced. I want you to understand this fundamental reality. Fear is a shadow, but my grace is the sun. A shadow has no substance of its own. It exists only as the absence of light. Therefore, the way to conquer fear is not to fight the shadow, but to turn toward the source of the light. I know the landscape of your fears. I see the anxiety that wakes you in the night, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of inadequacy, and most profoundly, the fear of the unknown future. All these fears are rooted in one ultimate, core lie, that you are ultimately alone and unsupported, that if you falter, there will be no safety net. This is where my grace steps in as the definitive, ultimate answer. My grace is the eternal assurance that you are never alone and never unsupported. It is the sun that constantly illuminates your path. When the shadow of fear of failure tries to engulf you, the light of grace reminds you. Your value is not tied to your outcome, but to your identity as my beloved child. When the shadow of fear of inadequacy whispers, "You don't have what it takes," the light of grace shines forth, declaring, "My strength is made perfect in your weakness." Let us observe a beautiful allegory of light. Imagine you are walking through a dense forest at dusk. Every twisted branch and every unfamiliar sound is magnified by the fading light, casting huge, terrifying shadows. A small twig on the ground might look like a sleeping monster, and the whisper of the wind might sound like a threat. This is exactly how fear operates. It takes the normal, human challenges of life and distorts them, making them appear 10 times larger and infinitely more dangerous than they actually are. But when the sun rises fully, every shadow immediately shrinks and loses its power. The sleeping monster is just a twig, and the threat is just the wind. My grace is that rising sun. To live under the dominion of grace is to live in perpetual daylight. When a challenge arises, you don't instantly retreat into anxiety. Instead, you face it with a calm assurance, knowing that the light is with you, guiding your steps and illuminating the truth. You understand that even if the path ahead is difficult, the outcome is guaranteed by my love. You will never be destroyed, only refined. The key to walking in this light is intentional remembrance. Fear gains its power through forgetfulness, forgetting who you are and, more importantly, forgetting who I am and what I have promised. Therefore, every time a surge of fear washes over you, let it be a trigger, a divine alarm clock, to stop and recite the truth of my grace. Instead of listening to the panic, declare my promise. Nothing can remove me from your grace. Therefore I am safe. I want you to consciously choose to live from a posture of faith, which is simply choosing to believe my truth over your feelings. Your feelings are real, my precious one, but they are not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is my unwavering, eternal commitment to you. Allow my grace to dissolve the shadowy illusions of fear. When you walk in the sun, you cannot walk in the shadow. Turn your face toward me, let my light fill you, and watch as the anxieties that once crippled you shrink to their proper, manageable size. You are a child of light, and the darkness has no legitimate claim over you. Be free from that fear, starting now. My precious one, we must now directly address one of the most tenacious beliefs that keeps my children from fully embracing their freedom, the myth of earning my love. This belief is deeply ingrained in the human experience. Everything in the world operates on a transactional basis. If you work, you are paid. If you perform, you are rewarded. If you obey the rules, you are accepted. It is only natural that your mind tries to apply this same, flawed logic to your relationship with me. This myth whispers that my love is a commodity, something you must perpetually strive for, and something you can lose if your performance dips below a certain standard. I declare to you with absolute certainty, this is a profound misunderstanding of my nature and the very definition of grace. My love is not a prize to be won. It is a permanent atmosphere that surrounds you, an eternal reality that preceded your actions and will outlast your failures. If my love for you could be earned, it would mean that it could also be unearned. It would be fragile, constantly fluctuating with the ebb and flow of your human perfection, or lack thereof. And I tell you, my dearest, my commitment to you is not fragile. It is the most robust, unchangeable force in the universe. Think of the simple, non-negotiable relationship between a mountain and the rock that forms it. The rock does not have to do anything to belong to the mountain. It simply is part of the mountain. Your connection to me is even more profound. I am the source, and you are derived from me. To try and earn my love is like a fish trying to earn the right to swim in the ocean, or a ray of sunshine trying to earn the right to be connected to the sun. It is an act of sheer futility born out of a misconception of belonging. The burden this myth places upon your soul is immense. It transforms your daily life into a spiritual treadmill. You are constantly running, trying to do one more good thing, say one more prayer, or avoid one more mistake, all in the desperate hope that today you will have accumulated enough merit to be worthy. This exhaustive striving is precisely what my grace was sent to eradicate. My grace is the final word on your worthiness. It declares that the score has been settled, the debt has been paid, and your acceptance is non-negotiable. When you abandon the myth of earning, you are free to live a life motivated by gratitude, not fear. When you understand that you are already loved to the maximum possible extent, your desire to live well, to be kind, and to seek goodness springs naturally from a heart overflowing with thankfulness. You stop trying to get my approval and start simply expressing the life I have already placed within you. This shift is the difference between slavery and sonship, between religious duty and joyful relationship. I watch you, my child, sometimes working so hard to be acceptable, and my heart aches with the desire for you to simply rest in the truth. I don't want your effort if it comes from a place of fear that you must deserve me. I desire your authentic, open heart, the one that says, I am imperfect, I stumble, but I know you love me completely, and that love empowers me to try again. Stop measuring your days by your perceived successes and failures. Stop grading your spiritual life. I have already given you a perfect score, a score that is based entirely on my commitment, not your capability. Lay down the heavy measuring tape. Cast away the ledger of your deeds. You are not striving for relationship. You are living from relationship. This truth is the key to unlocking true, sustained peace. Embrace the radical, freeing knowledge that you are loved, not because you are good, but because I am. Let my love be the air you breathe, the certainty you possess, and the quiet truth that guides every step. You have already received all that I have to do. Rest in it, my dearest. My beloved child, let us contemplate the inexhaustible resource that ensures your security and sustains your journey, the river of mercy that never runs dry. If my grace is the foundational love that holds you, then my mercy is the perpetual, flowing action of that love, constantly washing over you, cleansing you, and making all things new. I know that sometimes you fear your well of forgiveness might run out. You look at the frequency of your struggles, the repetition of certain failures, and a quiet anxiety asks, "How many times, Father? How much longer can I come to you before your patience finally wears thin?" This question, though humanly understandable, is rooted in the limited experience of human relationships. Human patience is finite, human forgiveness has limits, and human resources can be depleted. But I am not limited by human measure. My nature is infinite, and so too is my mercy. I want you to visualize this truth not as a stagnant pool that can be drained, but as a vast, powerful river, eternally sourced from my own heart. Imagine this river of mercy flowing wide and deep. It is not a small stream you must carefully wade across, hoping to reach the other side before the current weakens. No, it is a magnificent torrent, strong enough to carry away every particle of guilt, every speck of shame, and every shadow of regret that you might lay upon it. When you make a mistake, my dearest, you do not have to struggle back upstream to the source of forgiveness. You simply step into the flow, and instantly, you are cleansed and carried forward. The lie whispers that every time you err, you build a dam between yourself and my love. But my truth is that I have already removed the capacity for any dam to stand against the force of my compassion. The flow is constant, unending, and always accessible. It is available not just once or 7 times, but 70 times 7, which is my way of saying without measure or limit. This is the beauty of my constancy. You may feel different from one day to the next. Your mood may shift, your strength may fluctuate, and your focus may waver. But my mercy remains utterly stable. It is the one fixed point in the changing landscape of your human life. This reliability is meant to grant you profound peace. You never have to wake up and wonder if my mercy will be available today. It is already flowing. This perpetual mercy is the greatest antidote to discouragement. Discouragement happens when you look at your own recurring struggles and conclude, "I am a lost cause." But I invite you to look at the recurring availability of my grace and conclude, "My Father's love is a constant force for my renewal." The moment you stumble is not the moment to hide in shame. It is the moment to instantly turn toward the river. There is no waiting period, no application form, and no quota you must meet. There is only the immediate, welcoming flow of my love ready to embrace and lift you up. I call you, my precious one, to stop counting your failures and start trusting the infinity of my forgiveness. Do not allow the memory of a past slip-up to paralyze your steps today. The power of my mercy means that your failures are not final destinations. They are simply temporary detours on a road that is ultimately guaranteed by my grace. This river flows not because you are perfect, but precisely because you are imperfect and need continuous cleansing. It is a provision perfectly matched to your human condition. Rest in this truth. You are not running out of chances. You are constantly sustained by the endless, powerful, and immediate flow of my love. Trust the river. It will never run dry for you. My precious one, let us now speak of the marks you carry, the invisible wounds and the visible lines etched upon your soul by the journey of life. These are what you often call your scars, the memories of betrayal, the residue of trauma, the pain of mistakes, and the quiet grief of loss. When you look at these scars, you often view them with shame, wishing they could be erased, convinced they are blemishes that make you less whole, less worthy of my love. But I want to offer you a profound, divine perspective, my dearest. The scars I see are not marks of failure. They are the evidence of your survival, the chapters of your story, and the signature of my restorative grace upon you. Think of a mighty tree that has endured many severe storms. The tree has been struck by lightning, its branches torn by fierce winds, its trunk scarred by the harsh elements. Yet, That tree stands taller, its roots run deeper, and the rings of its trunk tell a magnificent story of resilience. The scars do not weaken the tree, they are the very record of its strength. They prove that the forces meant to destroy it failed. You, my child, are like that tree. Every hurt you survived, every disappointment you overcame, and every time you got up after being knocked down, you were proving the deep, resilient strength I placed within you. The world encourages you to hide your scars, to pretend they don't exist, or to believe they must be completely invisible before you can be accepted. But I do not require you to pretend. I see every line, every faded memory of pain, and I honor them. These scars are the places where life broke you open, and it was in those very places that my healing, merciful love was poured in, making you richer, more compassionate, and more profound than you were before. My grace does not ignore the pain you have experienced. It validates it and then transforms it. It takes the story of your suffering and turns it into a story of sanctified purpose. The empathy you carry for others, your ability to comfort someone going through a trial, your patience when facing unexpected setbacks. These priceless qualities are not born in comfort. They are forged in the crucible of your lived experience, in the very places where the scars were formed. I look at your scars and I do not see the failure of the past. I see the triumph of my love in the present. They are constant reminders that you are a victor, not a victim. They testify that my power was active in your weakest moments, sustaining you when you felt you could not take another step. They are the beautiful evidence of my grace, proving that my commitment is not theoretical, but deeply practical and personal. Stop allowing the shame of your past wounds to dictate your future. Stop viewing your history as a source of embarrassment. Instead, embrace it as the unique narrative that sets you apart and equips you to connect with a hurting world. Your story is sacred. Your scars are holy. They are the map of your journey home to me, and they reveal the depth and breadth of the restoration I have wrought in your life. Be proud of the strength it took to survive what you endured. Be grateful for the wisdom you gained through the struggles. My dearest, let your scars be seen, not as marks of brokenness, but as the beautiful, complex pattern of your life, woven together by the unstoppable, restorative thread of my grace. You are whole, not despite your scars, but often because of the depth of healing my love brought to them. My precious one, we stand now at a crucial revelation that must settle the matter of your past once and for all. It is the definitive declaration. Forgiveness is finished. The past is purged. I know the human mind is stubborn. It loves to hold on to evidence. When you look back at your history, your mind constantly tries to resurrect old failures, old shames, and old pains, laying them before you as if they were present realities. It whispers, "Yes, you were forgiven then, but what about now? You need to earn it all over again." This creates a life lived in constant spiritual performance review, desperately trying to keep the ledger balanced. But I tell you, my dearest, I am not a God of half measures. When I offer forgiveness, it is not a temporary reprieve, it is a final, irrevocable cancellation. Imagine a legal document that has been fully executed, signed, and stamped by the highest authority. Once the document is sealed, the terms are settled. No lower court, no prosecuting voice, and certainly no anxious memory can overturn that final verdict. My act of forgiveness is that seal. It is a divine and final execution of the debt. The past is not just excused, it is purged. When I say I have cast your sins into the depth of the sea, I mean I have removed them from my memory and, therefore, from their legal standing against you. The only reason they continue to haunt you is that you refuse to let them go from your memory. You have accepted the pardon, but you still keep bringing the canceled bills back into your living room to look at them. I want you to stop acting as your own jailer, my child. You have been set free. Let us explore a vivid allegory. Imagine a king who hosts a grand banquet for a recently pardoned prisoner. The king doesn't invite the prisoner to dinner and then force him to wear his heavy prison chains under his fine new robes. The chains are broken and discarded forever. Furthermore, the king doesn't spend the entire banquet reminding the man of the crimes that led to his imprisonment. The focus is on the new life, the new status, and the new relationship. You are that pardoned soul, my beloved. The moment you accepted my grace, the chains of your past were shattered. To live under the finished work of forgiveness means you are not defined by your history, but by my identity in you. It means that the label I have placed over you, forgiven, accepted, beloved, is the only label that matters. When the accuser, or your own self-doubt, tries to read an old label, you can point to my seal and say with quiet confidence that debt is paid, that file is closed, that history is purged. This is the profound rest I invite you into. You are finished with self-condemnation. You are finished with striving to make amends for mistakes I have already fully covered. The energy you are currently spending in guilt and shame is energy I desire you to channel into present purpose and future hope. Forgiveness is not a one-time transaction you must constantly reinitiate. It is a permanent state of being under my grace. I do not see you through the fog of your errors. I see you through the clear lens of my perfect love, and that love has accomplished a final, complete work in you. Stop looking for lingering charges against your name. There are none. Stop listening for the hammer of judgment. It hath been silenced forever. The past hath been purged. Stand tall in the light of this finished work, my precious one, and walk forward into the brilliant freedom of today. The road ahead requires your full attention, not your backward gaze. My beloved child, we have purged the past, yet I know that one formidable enemy still stands before you in the present moment: anxiety. Anxiety is that wall of worry you build around yourself, brick by meticulous brick, fueled by what-ifs and future fears. It is the spiritual constriction that limits your breath and clouds your vision, attempting to convince you that you must solve every single problem of the future right here, right now. I see the weariness this constant, low-level dread imposes upon your spirit. But I want to show you the hidden door I have placed directly within that seemingly solid wall. Anxiety is fundamentally a misplaced trust. It is the human heart trying to act as its own God, attempting to manage outcomes that are far beyond its finite capacity. You worry about provision, about health, about relationships, about security, and in doing so, you take on burdens that were always meant to rest on my eternal shoulders. The hidden door in the wall of anxiety is the decision to transfer sovereignty, the choice to move from self-reliance to absolute trust in my comprehensive grace. When the waves of worry crash over you, they are trying to obscure the unshakable foundation we spoke of earlier. They are attempting to make you forget that your life is not a series of random, chaotic events, but a perfectly orchestrated journey guided by a loving Father who can see the beginning from the end. If you truly believe that nothing can remove you from my grace, then you must also believe that nothing that happens to you, no unexpected crisis, no sudden setback, can occur outside the boundaries of my care. Let us explore a parable of the traveler and the map. Imagine a traveler who is given a perfect, detailed map to a glorious destination. The traveler begins the journey, but constantly stops, frantically recalculating, worrying about every twist in the path, every shadow that crosses the road, tearing their hair out over a potential roadblock that might appear miles ahead. All this frantic activity does is exhaust the traveler and steal the joy of the journey. The hidden door is realizing, I don't need to be the mapmaker, the navigator, and the driver. I only need to trust the one who gave me the map and promised to guide my steps. The key to walking through this door is radical surrender of the outcome. When an anxious thought arises, a worry about a financial future, a fear about a relationship, instead of following the thought down the rabbit hole of panic, consciously interrupt it. Say, this is not my burden. I hand this entirely to the keeper of my soul. This is not passive denial. It is active faith. It is the courageous recognition that your greatest peace comes not from having all the answers, but from resting in the one who does. I am inviting you to practice this exchange moment by moment. The anxiety will not vanish overnight, but its power over you will dissolve the instant you choose to entrust the what if to my I am. My grace guarantees your eternal security, and therefore, it covers your temporal security as well. The very presence of my grace in your life is the promise that every challenge you face will ultimately serve your good and my glory. Stop carrying the weight of the future. Step through the hidden door of trust and experience the lightness of knowing you are utterly cared for, today and always. My dearest, do not turn away, because you are on the verge of a breakthrough concerning the greatest lie the accuser uses to trip you up. What I am about to reveal will silence the voice that constantly condemns and judges you. Listen closely, because what I am about to reveal will change how you see your past and your future relationship with me. Do not allow the subtle distraction of the world to cut this divine conversation short. The completion of this message holds the fullness of your intended peace. If these powerful words have begun to lift the heavy fog of anxiety from your spirit, demonstrate your faith by liking this message and watching it to the very end. Your share with 3 loved ones who are struggling with worry will amplify this message of trust. And subscribe now to ensure you continue walking in the freedom of my daily truth. The most liberating word is next. My beloved child, we have successfully stepped through the hidden door in the wall of anxiety, and now we must address the persistent, irritating presence that attempts to pull you back, the accuser. This voice is a master of spiritual manipulation. It doesn't usually speak in a loud, thundering shout. It operates as a relentless, subtle whisper of condemnation. It knows your weaknesses, your past mistakes, and your current struggles, and it uses this intimate knowledge to constantly point an accusatory finger, declaring, "You are a fraud. You don't deserve this peace. You are not good enough for the grace you claim." This whisper is designed to create doubt in 2 critical areas: doubt in my love for you, and doubt in your ultimate forgiveness. It seeks to erode your confidence in the finished work I have already accomplished on your behalf. But I want to equip you, my precious one, with the definitive counter-voice, the powerful whisper of my grace that silences the accuser instantly and completely. Think of the accuser as a prosecuting attorney in a court. They gather all the evidence of your failures and present them meticulously, demanding a verdict of guilt and punishment. The only reason the accuser has any power over you is because you, the defendant, also choose to believe their evidence and agree with their judgment. You allow the courtroom to exist in your mind. But here is the radical truth of my grace. The trial is over. The verdict has already been rendered, and it is not guilty on all counts. Furthermore, I, the ultimate judge, have stepped down from the bench and stood in your place. The moment you accepted my grace, the spiritual jurisdiction over your soul changed forever. The accuser is now trespassing on sacred ground. When the whisper of condemnation begins its assault, look at that mistake you just made. You are still struggling with that old habit. You call yourself a child of light. You must immediately recognize it for the lie that it is. Your response must be the simple, powerful counter-whisper of my truth. My identity is sealed by grace. My debt is paid. The accuser has no standing here. This is not a mere recitation of words. It is an act of re-establishing my authority in your soul. You are reminding yourself of the ultimate, finished reality of my love, that my grace is bigger than your biggest flaw, and my forgiveness is more complete than the accuser's most damning evidence. The power of the accuser collapses when you stop fighting the charges and start standing in the truth of your acquittal. Let us use the allegory of the spotlight. The accuser thrives on shining a harsh, magnifying spotlight on your singular moments of failure, trying to blind you to the larger reality. But my grace is like the gentle, all-encompassing light of the dawn. When you step into my light, the harsh spotlight loses its effect. You see your failures in their proper context, as human moments of learning, not eternal verdicts of worthlessness. I know this whisper is persistent, my child, because it attacks the very core of your identity. It tries to convince you that your relationship with me is tenuous. Therefore, your defense must be a constant, moment-by-moment practice of remembering who you are in my eyes. You are not defined by your struggle. You are defined by my decree. You are not a criminal on parole. You are a beloved heir seated at my table. Be intentional about this today. When you feel that tightness in your chest, that familiar pull of self-criticism, stop, breathe, and use the powerful weapon of my truth. Let my quiet, authoritative whisper be the one that fills the air. You are wholly and completely mine. Your acceptance is final. Walk in peace. The accuser cannot withstand the sound of my definitive love. Trust the power of my grace to silence every voice that denies the finality of your pardon. My precious one, the whisper of the accuser often gains traction because you have, perhaps without realizing it, allowed your sense of self-worth, your identity, to become dangerously intertwined with your performance. The world has taught you that you are what you do, a successful professional, a dedicated parent, a flawless friend, a spiritually disciplined soul. When you succeed in these roles, you feel worthy. When you stumble or fail, your entire sense of self collapses into shame and inadequacy. This is a precarious, painful way to live, constantly requiring you to run faster to keep up with an impossible standard. I am here to fundamentally liberate you from this bondage. I want you to understand that my grace establishes your identity beyond performance. Your true, eternal identity is not found in your accomplishments, your titles, your social standing, or even your daily spiritual track record. Your true identity is found in one single, glorious, unchangeable fact. You are my beloved child. This is a decree, not an achievement. You didn't become my child through effort. You were declared my child through my choice and my unconditional love. This identity is the bedrock we spoke of, unshakable, unassailable, and completely independent of external circumstances or internal fluctuations. Think of it. If you lost everything tomorrow, your job, your savings, your health, would you cease to be my child? Absolutely not. Your physical circumstances might change, but the spiritual reality of your belonging remains eternally fixed. Let us use the allegory of a royal family. A prince is a prince not because he successfully performs all his duties one day, but because he was born into the royal line. He may fail at his lessons, he may act immaturely, he may make embarrassing public mistakes, but through it all, his title remains Prince. His identity is inherent in his bloodline, not contingent upon his behavior. My dearest, you are an heir in my eternal kingdom. Your spiritual DNA is sourced from me. Your behavior may require correction and growth, but your identity as mine is non-negotiable. When you live from the place of performance, every action carries the pressure of earning your acceptance. You become rigid, afraid to risk failure, and you view mistakes not as opportunities for learning, but as devastating threats to your worth. This anxiety prevents you from fully embracing the dynamic, creative life I designed for you. But when you truly inhabit your identity beyond performance, everything changes. You are free to fail gracefully, because failure only impacts a task, not your fundamental worth. You are free to try bold, new things, because the outcome does not determine your status. You are free to be vulnerable and authentic, because you no longer need a mask of perfection to secure my love. Your actions become motivated by joy and gratitude, rather than fear and obligation. This is the great shift of grace. You stop performing for me, and you start cooperating with me from a place of secure acceptance. Your good works are no longer resume builders for heaven. They are simply the beautiful overflow of the life I have already placed within you. I want you to stop today and consciously separate your performance from your personhood. Look at the demanding voice in your head that says, "You must do more." Answer it with the quiet, authoritative truth of my grace. My doing does not define my being. I am defined only by my Father's love. Embrace this profound freedom, my precious one. Walk in the lightness of knowing that you are enough, not because of what you bring to the table, but because I have chosen you to sit there forever. Your worth is settled, fixed, and eternally secure in me. My beloved child, let us move deeper into the mysteries of my restoration by reflecting on the parable of the broken vessel. I know that you often look at your own imperfections, your weaknesses, your moments of emotional fragility, the ways you feel less than others, and you conclude, "I am broken. I am damaged goods. I am disqualified from being used by my Father." This feeling of brokenness is one of the heaviest weights you carry, the conviction that you must be perfectly repaired before I can fully embrace your life. But I want to radically change your perspective on brokenness. Imagine a master potter, deeply skilled and immensely patient. This potter does not work with perfect, pre-shaped clay. The potter works with common, rough earth, which must be stretched, shaped, fired, and sometimes, yes, broken. Now, imagine one of the vessels, once beautiful and whole, suffers a terrible crack, a significant flaw that makes it incapable of holding the water it was originally designed for. In the world's economy, that vessel would be discarded. It is deemed useless, a failure. But I, your Father, am not like the world. I am the divine potter, and my eye is not fixed on your flaw, but on your potential for unique beauty. When I see a broken vessel, I do not discard it. Instead, I practice the exquisite art of kintsugi, a process you may know from your world. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of fracture with a special lacquer dusted or mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The profound truth of kintsugi is this: the vessel is not repaired back to its original, flawed state. It is repaired in such a way that the lines of its brokenness are highlighted, honored, and elevated by gold. The finished product is more beautiful, more valuable, and more unique than the vessel was before it was broken. The break is no longer a flaw. It is a feature. It is a testament to resilience, history, and radical restoration. My dearest, you are my kintsugi masterpiece. The cracks in your soul, the trauma, the betrayal, the shame, the places where you feel most fragile, these are the very places I pour my golden grace. I don't hide your wounds, I transform them. I mend them with the precious substance of my unconditional love, making the history of your suffering visible, not as a mark of shame, but as a glorious demonstration of my healing power. When you try to hide your brokenness, you are hiding the very place where my gold is meant to shine. When you attempt to glue yourself back together with your own willpower, you are using inferior materials that will not hold. I invite you to stop striving for an impossible, fragile perfection and instead allow me to use your authentic, mended reality. The value of a kintsugi vessel is exponentially increased because of its brokenness and subsequent restoration. Your capacity for empathy, your resilience, your deep understanding of others' pain. These are the results of the cracks you endured. These are the golden lines of my grace shining through your life, making you a vessel capable of holding and pouring out compassion in a way that the unbroken could never achieve. So, let go of the shame attached to your perceived brokenness, my child. Look at your life not as a tragic failure, but as a complex, unique, and profoundly beautiful work of art still being perfected by my hands. I cherish your history. I love your flaws. And I promise you, the part of you that feels most damaged is the very area I will use to showcase my most beautiful grace. Your brokenness has not disqualified you. It has qualified you for a deeper, more profound purpose. Embrace your glorious restoration. My precious one, the journey of life often brings with it a profound sense of loss, a quiet grief over moments, opportunities, and even parts of yourself that seem to have been unfairly taken away. These losses are what you might call the things the years have stolen. Lost innocence, squandered time, unfulfilled dreams, relationships that ended prematurely, or the vitality that past traumas consumed. You look back and calculate the damage, feeling impoverished by the toll that life and your own mistakes have exacted. But I want to introduce you to a majestic truth of my grace. I am the God of restoration and reclamation. Nothing in your life is ever truly lost beyond my ability to redeem it, heal it, and use it for a greater good. My grace is not just about forgiveness for the past. It is about repaying the debt of the years and turning your losses into unexpected gains. Imagine a devastating flood that sweeps through a valley. It appears to destroy everything: the crops, the homes, the established routines. The immediate result is chaos and sorrow. However, over time, the floodwaters recede, leaving behind an incredibly rich layer of fertile silt. This silt, though brought by disaster, prepares the ground for a harvest that is exponentially richer and more abundant than anything the valley had ever known before. The land hath been irrevocably changed, but the ultimate outcome is a multiplication of life. My dearest child, your life is that valley. The floods of pain, regret, and disappointment may have swept through, and yes, they took things from you. But my grace is at work in the aftermath. It is taking the very soil of your experience, the lessons learned, the empathy gained, the resilience forged in the furnace of suffering, and preparing you for a harvest of purpose that would have been impossible without the difficult season. This restoration is not merely a replacement of what you lost. It is a divine upgrade. I don't just give you back the time you spent in worry. I give you a profound peace that makes every remaining moment richer and more meaningful. I don't just return the opportunities you missed. I guide you toward new doors that lead to deeper fulfillment, perfectly aligned with the wiser, stronger person you have become. The parts of your soul that felt broken and fragmented are knit back together with a strength that transcends their original state. The enemy's tactic is to keep you paralyzed by the grief of what could have been. The voice of regret says, "You wasted it all." But the voice of my grace declares, "I waste nothing." Every tear you shed, every moment of confusion, every painful lesson, I have collected them. and I am weaving them into the tapestry of a life that will be a testament to my redemptive power. To walk in this truth, you must actively surrender the need to cling to the memory of the loss. Stop demanding that I give you back the exact things you lost, in the exact form they once took. Instead, open your hands and trust me for the multiplied grace I am bringing forth. Trust my ability to turn mourning into dancing and ashes into beauty. This requires faith, the confident assurance that my plan for your future is superior to any comfort you found in your past. You are moving out of the season of loss and into the season of divine restoration. Be ready, my child, to receive the abundance that I am reclaiming for you. My precious one, having established the grandeur of my foundational grace and the promise of my restoration, we must now bring this magnificent truth into the practical reality of your daily life. You do not live in the eternal future yet. You live in the relentless sequence of moments that make up today. And every one of those moments requires sustenance. I want you to understand that my grace is your daily bread, the essential spiritual nourishment designed to meet the specific needs, challenges, and temptations of the present 24 hours. When you think of grace, you often think of the grand, sweeping acts, the forgiveness of past sins, the promise of eternal life. And while that is true, I invite you to see grace as something profoundly intimate and immediate. It is the strength to face the unexpected email, the patience to deal with a demanding situation, the wisdom to make a difficult decision, and the ability to choose kindness over irritation in a moment of stress. This is grace in action, your daily bread. The mistake many of my children make is trying to live today on the strength of yesterday's grace, or anxiously trying to borrow grace from tomorrow. They wake up and try to muster up their own willpower to be patient, to be kind, or to overcome a recurring habit. This approach is exhausting and doomed to failure, because human willpower is a finite resource. It runs out by noon. But I provide my grace on a just-in-time basis, perfectly portioned for the moment you need it. Think of the biblical manna I provided to my people in the wilderness. They were instructed to gather only what they needed for the day. If they tried to hoard it, it spoiled. This was a profound spiritual lesson. You are not meant to carry yesterday's worry or tomorrow's burden. You are simply meant to trust me for the provision of today. Therefore, when you wake up, before you address any of the day's tasks, I invite you to begin with an act of intentional reliance. Don't pray for strength to endure the day. Pray for the grace to receive my strength in the moment of need. Say, Father, I surrender this day and all its unknowns to you. I will not rely on my own finite patience, but on your infinite supply. My grace is sufficient for me today. This declaration shifts your posture from striving to receiving. This daily flow of grace is what empowers you to live the life I call you to. It enables you to forgive someone who hurts you, not because you feel like forgiving them, but because my grace gives you the power to choose that higher path. It enables you to resist a destructive temptation, not through grim white-knuckle effort, but through the sudden, empowering realization that my love has already satisfied your deepest needs. I want you to experience the liberation of this moment-by-moment dependence. When a crisis arises, stop and breathe, and remember, the grace for this specific challenge is already present. You do not have to generate it, you only have to acknowledge and receive it. This realization calms the spirit, grounds your feet, and clears your mind. Let the knowledge that nothing can remove you from my grace be your constant, quiet backdrop. This deep security allows you to navigate the ups and downs of life with a calm resilience. You are not striving for a future reward. You are sustained by a present reality, the constant, flowing provision of my unconditional love, perfectly portioned as your daily bread. Embrace this simplicity, my precious one, and watch the exhaustion and anxiety of self-reliance melt away into the sustaining presence of my daily grace. My beloved child, the truth of my daily grace, the nourishment that sustains you, must now lead us to a definitive action, finding the courage to begin again, right now. I know that when you look at the long road ahead, or when you feel the drag of old habits and patterns, the sheer weight of trying to get it right can be paralyzing. You often feel you need a grand, momentous occasion to reboot your life, a new year, a new job, a major change of scenery. You wait for the perfect feeling, the perfect moment, the perfect strength, before you allow yourself to truly start over. But I tell you, my dearest, that is a subtle trap. The perfect moment never comes because the perfect moment is always the present moment. My grace is not reserved for monumental shifts. It is designed for the messy, imperfect, instantaneous choice to turn toward me right where you are. The courage I speak of is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in the face of fear, knowing that my acceptance of you is already complete. The paralysis of "I'll start tomorrow" is rooted in the belief that you must successfully maintain the restart on your own power. It is the fear that if you begin, and then stumble again, the disappointment will be too great, both yours and, you mistakenly believe, mine. But we have established that nothing can remove you from my grace. Therefore, every morning, every hour, every breath is a fresh slate, not because you earned it, but because my mercy is new. Think of the allegory of the marathon runner. The runner stumbles, falls to the ground, scrapes a knee, and feels the crushing weight of failure. The mind screams, "It's over. You've lost too much time." But the goal of the marathon is not to run perfectly. It is to finish. The courage to begin again is the simple act of standing up, dusting off the dirt, and starting to run again, even with the scrape still stinging. The runner does not waste precious energy wallowing in shame. The runner focuses on the next step. I am inviting you to stop wallowing in the emotional residue of your last fall. The stumble is not the definition of your run. It is merely a momentary incident on a long journey. The key to freedom is the instantaneous decision to reset. The second you recognize you have veered off course, you do not need to spend days in self-condemnation before you feel worthy to approach me. You simply need to pivot, acknowledge the lapse, and receive the ever-present flow of my forgiveness, which is already there, waiting. This courage to begin again is the core essence of living my grace. It liberates you from the tyranny of your past performance. You don't have to wait until you feel holy enough. You draw your strength from the simple fact that you are already wholly loved. This radical acceptance is the fuel for change. It is not guilt that motivates lasting transformation. It is the joyful realization that you are so profoundly loved that you desire to live a life worthy of that love. So, my beloved, whatever you feel you failed at yesterday, a commitment to kindness, a promise of discipline, a lapse in faith, let it go right now. Don't wait for the clock to strike midnight. Don't wait for your feelings to align perfectly. Take a deep breath, and in that simple moment, make the choice to turn your focus back to me, to embrace my forgiveness, and to take the very next step in confidence. My grace is the wind beneath your wings for this very moment. Begin again, right now. Your Father is right here, cheering you on. My dearest, listen closely, because what I am about to reveal will change how you see your purpose. The difference between being far from me and realizing you are always closer than you think. Do not let the distractions of this world pull you away now, for you are on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding my constant presence. The full blessing is reserved for those who complete this divine appointment. If this message has ignited the courage to begin again in your heart, acknowledge that power by liking this video. If you know a soul who is stuck in the cycle of self-blame, share this message with 3 friends to help them find their reset button. And subscribe right now to keep your spirit anchored in these liberating truths of grace. Let us continue to the next truth. My beloved child, in our previous moment, we embraced the courage to begin again, acknowledging that my grace provides a fresh start at any moment. Now, we must address the difficult, cold reality of those times when you feel the most profound spiritual isolation. Those moments when you feel farthest from me. This feeling is one of the most painful human experiences, often accompanied by deep loneliness, self-recrimination, and the belief that you must have done something truly catastrophic to drive me away. I want to dismantle this misconception immediately. The feeling of distance is a symptom of your human emotion, not a statement of my divine reality. Think of the relationship between the sun and the earth. Sometimes a dense layer of clouds rolls in, obscuring the sun completely. The earth may feel cold and dark, and you might assume the sun has vanished or moved millions of miles away. But the sun has not moved an inch. It is still exactly where it has always been, shining with undiminished intensity. The perception of distance is entirely caused by the barrier you have allowed to form between us. My dearest, I am closest to you precisely when you feel farthest away. Why? Because those moments of deep discouragement and isolation are often when your human defenses are lowest, when your striving ceases, and when you finally stop trying to perform and simply acknowledge your need. Your weakness is the perfect vacuum for my strength. Your emptiness is the perfect container for my fullness. When you are strong, you may inadvertently rely on your own self-sufficiency. But when you feel utterly weak and abandoned, you are finally in a posture to receive my radical, supporting grace. The feeling of distance is usually caused by one of 2 things: either the shame of a recent failure, which causes you to retreat and hide, or the heavy weight of ceaseless striving, which causes exhaustion and spiritual burnout. In both cases, you are the one moving, not me. You are pulling away, fearing my judgment, or collapsing from the effort of trying to earn what I already gave you freely. But I want you to remember the parable of the prodigal child. The child's journey was long, and the distance was great. But the moment the child simply turned and looked toward home, the father was already running toward him. The father's love was not waiting for the perfect apology. It was waiting for the first sign of return. My arms are never shortened, my ear is never deaf, and my heart is never closed to you. When that dark cloud of isolation descends, I command you, my child, to act against your feeling. Do not listen to the emotion that tells you to retreat. Instead, take a leap of faith into the truth of my nature. Say this to yourself: I feel distant, but my feelings are not the truth. The truth is that my Father's grace is a permanent covering, and I am irrevocably sealed in His love. I will not hide. This act of turning, even when it feels like the hardest thing in the world, is the moment the clouds begin to dissipate. It is the moment you realize I was there all along, holding you steady beneath the surface turbulence. I'm not waiting for you to clean yourself up before approaching me. I want you in your mess, in your confusion, in your pain. My love is the medicine for those conditions. My grace is the embrace you need in your loneliness. Never let a feeling of separation convince you of a lie about my unchanging closeness. The distance is an illusion. You are loved. You are near. You are secure. That is the eternal reality. My beloved child, following the realization that I am closest when you feel farthest, we must now delve into the practical discipline that ensures a consistent experience of my reality. The secret of abiding in my presence. This is not a complex ritual or a demanding schedule of spiritual duties. On the contrary, the secret lies in its profound simplicity. It is about choosing to rest in the stream of my grace, rather than constantly trying to swim upstream toward me. Abiding is the act of remaining, of dwelling, of settling the heart in the secure knowledge that you are already home. Many of my children confuse striving with abiding. Striving is the anxious effort to generate spiritual momentum through willpower, reading, or ritual, hoping that this action will finally make you worthy of my attention. Abiding, however, is the cessation of anxious self-effort. It is the confident assurance that because nothing can remove you from my grace, you are perpetually connected, like a branch to the vine. You do not have to work to become connected. You simply need to relax and live from the connection that already exists. Let us use the allegory of the traveler and the sun again. The sun is shining, constant, and warm. Striving is like the traveler constantly running after the sun, trying to generate light and warmth through exertion, always chasing the feeling of being near. Abiding is the traveler simply sitting still in the warmth, opening their face to the light, and allowing the sun's energy to penetrate them. The warmth is given, not earned. Light is a gift, not a prize for effort. Abiding is the posture of receiving. This has profound implications for your daily experience. When you abide in my presence, the source of your fruitfulness changes. You stop relying on your own limited resources, your patience, your self-control, your wisdom, and you start drawing from my infinite, flowing resource of grace. The patience you need for a difficult conversation is supplied instantly because you are connected to the source of all patience. The wisdom you need for a tough decision flows because you are resting in the presence of the source of all wisdom. Your life becomes an expression of my life flowing through you, not your own striving for me. The practice of abiding is found in moment-by-moment surrender. It is the practice of consciously bringing your attention back to the reality of my presence whenever your mind begins to drift into worry or self-condemnation. When a fear arises, you say, "I surrender this fear to my Father's grace." When a mistake happens, you pivot instantly and say, "I receive instant forgiveness and continue to abide in His love." This is the continuous, gentle adjustment that keeps you securely nestled in my peace. I invite you to make this your central focus, my dearest. Stop measuring your spiritual health by how much you do for me, and start measuring it by how much you rest in me. The goal is not to have moments of divine presence. The goal is to make your entire life a sanctuary of abiding. This is the secret to sustained peace, joy, and fruitfulness. When you abide, the fruits of the Spirit are naturally produced because you are drawing nourishment from the vine. My grace makes abiding possible. It removes the guilt that makes you want to run away, and it provides the security that allows you to be vulnerable and still. Choose today to stop striving and to start simply dwelling in the secure, unshakable reality of my unconditional love. Rest in me, precious one. This is your true home. My precious one. The journey into abiding requires a radical act of release, a profound surrender of a deeply ingrained human habit, letting go of the self-punishment. I see how often, even after receiving my full and complete forgiveness, you continue to hold court in your own heart, acting as your own judge and jury, issuing sentences of regret, shame, and self-recrimination. You believe that by punishing yourself, you are somehow achieving a deeper form of repentance, or that this pain is necessary to ensure you don't repeat the mistake. I tell you, my dearest, that self-punishment is an insult to the finished work of my grace. It is a subconscious rejection of the ultimate price I paid for your freedom. When I say that your debt is canceled and your past is purged, I mean it completely. If I, the ultimate authority, have declared you acquitted, who are you to reopen the case and demand further penance? You are attempting to pay for a debt that has already been marked paid in full. This self-punishment takes many forms. Sometimes it is the deliberate refusal of joy, the constant internal monologue of self-criticism, or the subconscious sabotage of your own success, feeling that you don't truly deserve goodness because of what you've done. It is the spiritual equivalent of wearing invisible sackcloth and ashes, long after I have offered you robes of righteousness and celebration. This burden is unnecessary, debilitating, and completely contrary to the freedom I have given you. Think of an intricate, beautiful tapestry. You, my child, look at the tapestry and see a single thread, a knot, or a small area where the color seems dull, and you conclude the entire work is ruined. Then, out of misplaced loyalty to this perceived flaw, you take scissors and snip at the area, trying to excise the imperfection. This is what self-punishment does. It damages the whole, not in an act of holiness, but in an act of prideful self-sufficiency, believing you must fix the problem yourself. My grace, however, is the master weaver. I see the knots, the dull colors, and the imperfections, but I see them as integral parts of the complex, beautiful pattern I am creating. I don't condemn them. I incorporate them. I want you to drop the scissors of self-condemnation and trust the weaver. The true, healthy response to a mistake is not self-punishment, but repentance and correction. Repentance is simply turning, acknowledging the error, and instantly pivoting back to my path. Correction is the wisdom to learn the lesson and change the behavior moving forward. Neither of these requires shame or lingering pain. They require honesty, humility, and immediate reception of my grace. I am calling you into the deep rest of knowing that your acceptance is not tied to your ability to avoid mistakes, but to my unchanging decree of love. When you make a mistake, do not hide from me. Run to me. Lay the mistake down, receive the fresh cleansing of my mercy, and move forward with the strength I provide. That is the path of grace. Today, make a conscious covenant with your soul. I will no longer act as the judge of my past mistakes. I will no longer inflict pain upon myself for errors that my Father has already completely forgiven. Every time the voice of self-condemnation arises, silence it with the powerful truth: my penalty has been paid. I walk in freedom, not in penance. Let go of the heavy, self-imposed prison of guilt, my beloved one, and step fully into the spacious, beautiful reality of your liberation. I have set you free. Now choose to be free. My beloved child, we have spent time dismantling the lie that you must be perfect to be loved. Now, we must address a closely related and equally damaging misconception: the belief that your imperfection impairs my divine plan for your life. This worry surfaces when you look at the grand vision I have given you, the purpose, the calling, the relationships, and you compare it to the reality of your current human state. You see your flaws, your weaknesses, your inconsistent commitment, and you fear that you are too compromised, too flawed, to be the vessel I need to accomplish my purposes on earth. The quiet, paralyzing thought is, I messed up too much, and now God has had to downgrade the plan for me. I declare to you, my dearest, that this thought is completely false. My plan for your life is not a fragile thing, easily broken by human error. It is a robust, sovereign decree, and it is designed to work through your imperfection, not wait for your perfection. If my ability to execute my will on earth depended on the flawless performance of finite, flawed humans, my plans would have crumbled millennia ago. Think of the most significant, world-changing figures throughout history. Examine their stories. The ones I chose to lead my people to deliver my messages, and to establish my kingdom. You will find a tapestry of deeply flawed individuals: the fearful leader who doubted his speech, the adulterer who became a king, the persecutor who became a zealous apostle, the doubter who became a rock. I intentionally choose the weak things of the world to accomplish my purposes, so that the power displayed is clearly mine, and not their own. My grace is the divine alchemy that takes your human imperfection and turns it into the perfect showcase for my strength. Your greatest weakness is not a barrier to my plan. It is often the entry point for my power. When you are operating in your own strength, the glory goes to you. But when you are forced, through weakness, to rely entirely on my grace, the results are undeniable, and the glory belongs entirely to me. Let us use the allegory of the cracked bell. An antique bell, used for centuries, develops a noticeable crack. In the eyes of a perfectionist, the bell is ruined. But to an artisan, the crack is fascinating because it fundamentally changes the bell's sound. The crack creates a deeper, richer, more complex resonance, a tone that is unique and impossible to reproduce in a flawless bell. The flaw did not ruin the bell's purpose. It intensified its distinct voice. My child, your imperfections are not reasons for me to put you back on the shelf. They are the cracks that allow your unique, powerful resonance to be heard in the world. Your vulnerability over past struggles gives you an authenticity that a flawless person could never possess. The empathy born from your pain allows you to reach hearts that a perfectly sanitized servant could never touch. Therefore, stop striving for a facade of wholeness that is both unattainable and unnecessary. Embrace your current, authentic self, flawed, messy, learning, and utterly dependent on me. Your purpose is not contingent upon your ability to be a spiritual superstar. It is contingent upon your willingness to be used by a Father whose grace is powerful enough to flow through any vessel, no matter how imperfectly formed. Lay down the fear that you have impaired my plan. My plan is eternal, rooted in my wisdom, and guaranteed by my power. Nothing can remove you from my grace, and nothing can derail the purpose I ordained for your life. Trust my sovereignty. Trust my power to make up the difference between your ability and my calling. Be authentically you. Rely completely on my grace and watch my perfect, beautiful plan unfold through your imperfect, beloved life. My beloved child, there are seasons in every journey where the noise of the world fades, and even the comforting voice of my spirit seems to quiet. These are the seasons of silence, and they can be some of the most challenging periods of your life. When you are praying, striving, or waiting for a breakthrough, and all you receive in return is a profound stillness, a deep quietness, the human heart can quickly fall prey to doubt. You begin to question, did I misunderstand the instruction? Did I do something wrong? Has my Father forgotten the promise, or has my failure finally caused him to withdraw? I want to reassure you now, with the full authority of my eternal love, the promise is kept in the silence. The absence of a booming answer or a dramatic sign is not the absence of my presence or my power. On the contrary, the periods of silence are often the times of deepest, most profound work in your spirit. The moments when I am strengthening the very roots of your faith so that when the harvest comes, your foundation will be strong enough to support the weight of the blessing. Think of the life cycle of a majestic oak tree. During the winter months, when the tree appears dormant, leafless, and still, there is no visible growth. Yet, beneath the frozen ground, the root system is silently, powerfully expanding. The roots are pushing deeper into the bedrock, gathering the necessary resilience and resources to withstand the storms of the future and support the massive canopy of spring. The silence above ground is a necessity for the sovereign work happening below. My child, if you are currently in a season of silence, do not mistake my quietness for my absence. I am right there with you, operating in the unseen places of your heart and your circumstances. I am doing the deep, vital work of character building, removing the fragile dependencies on external affirmation and shallow experience, and anchoring your soul directly into my unchanging nature. The silence is a gift, forcing you to move beyond the surface-level relationship, one based on immediate emotional returns, into a relationship based on unshakable, quiet trust. This is the power of my grace in the quiet. It teaches you that your faith is not in the sign. Your faith is in the Savior. If your faith requires a constant, audible confirmation, it is easily shaken when the circumstances seem to contradict the promise. But if your faith is rooted in the certainty that nothing can remove you from my grace, you can stand firm even when all external evidence is quiet. You can say, I may not hear him, but I know he is there. I may not see the way, but I know he is the way. The promise is guaranteed by his character, not by my current feelings. I know that waiting in the silence requires immense courage. The enemy loves to fill that void with anxious whispers and old regrets. But this is the time to practice the discipline of remembrance. Remind yourself of the history of my faithfulness. Think of the times I came through for you before, often precisely when the situation seemed most hopeless. Use the silence to meditate on my immutable promises, allowing the truth of my word to become louder than the uncertainty of your circumstances. Embrace this time of quiet reliance, my dearest. Do not rush the process. Let the silence strengthen you. Know that I am working diligently on your behalf, preparing the ground, deepening the roots, and ensuring that the promise I have spoken over your life will not only be kept, but will be executed perfectly in my divine timing. Rest in the quiet assurance that my love is as active in the stillness as it is in the storm. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. My beloved child, we now arrive at one of the most transformative promises of my grace, the covenant of the crown of beauty for ashes. I know that you have walked through deep valleys of sorrow, disappointment, and even destruction. You have experienced moments where life felt like it was reduced to mere ashes, the residue of what was consumed by pain, failure, or loss. When you look at those experiences, you see only the sterile, dark, useless remnants of a past devastation. You may ask, Father, how can anything beautiful come from this heap of sorrow and regret? I tell you, my dearest, that my grace specializes in divine transmutation. I do not merely cover the ashes. I utilize the ashes themselves to create something of sublime, redemptive beauty. Ashes, in their spiritual sense, represent a complete surrender, the final end of striving, and the recognition that all self-reliance has been burned away. This is the perfect starting point for my greatest work. My power is most clearly manifested when the human effort is entirely exhausted. The crown of beauty I offer is not a trivial replacement. It is a profound exchange of your state of mourning for a state of sanctified joy and strength. It is a crown of dignity, purpose, and profound wisdom, forged in the very fires you survived. The beauty is not about a return to a naive state, but the transcendent radiance of a soul that has been tested and proved faithful, not by its own strength, but by the sustaining power of my grace. Think of the precious, unique formation of a pearl. The pearl is created not out of an oyster's perfection, but out of its wound. A piece of grit, an irritant, enters the oyster, causing pain and irritation. In response, the oyster doesn't try to expel the grit through force. It surrounds the irritant with layer upon layer of a smooth, lustrous substance called nacre. The finished pearl is a thing of profound beauty and value, born entirely from the trauma. The most beautiful part of the oyster's life story is its reaction to the wound. My child, your pain, your regrets, your moments of feeling burned out. These are the irritants in your life. Instead of trying to fight them with self-condemnation, I invite you to surround them with the smooth, lustrous layers of my grace and trust. Allow my spirit to work through the trauma. The crown of beauty is the ultimate display of this divine process. It shows the world that even your darkest moments were not wasted, but were meticulously used by me to create a character that shines with a gentle, resilient light. This truth liberates you from the need to hide your past. You don't have to pretend you haven't faced devastation. Instead, you can wear your history as a testament to my faithfulness. The empathy you have for others who are hurting is the purest gold in your crown. The quiet strength you now possess is the jewel of resilience. The wisdom gained through the fire is the unmistakable mark of my divine hand. Let go of the shame you attach to the ashes of your past, my dearest. Stop seeing them as evidence of failure. Instead, see them as the rich, dark soil from which I am growing the most beautiful aspects of your destiny. Embrace the transformation. My grace has not just forgiven your errors, it has consecrated your sorrow. You are moving from mourning to magnificent purpose, from ashes to radiant beauty. Claim this truth and stand tall in the dignity of your divine restoration. My dearest, do not turn away, because you are on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding the authority you carry. Listen closely, because what I am about to reveal, your new, true name, will change how you approach every challenge. Do not allow the subtle distraction of the world to cut this divine conversation short. The fullness of your identity awaits those who complete this sacred journey. If these words have placed the crown of beauty upon your weary spirit, acknowledge this truth by liking this message. Share this liberating message with 3 souls who are still holding onto ashes and need this promise of beauty. And subscribe right now to ensure you continue walking in the truth of your divine restoration. The secret of your true identity is next. My beloved child, we have moved from the ashes of the past into the light of restoration, and now we must focus on the most defining aspect of your being, your identity. For too long, you have been listening to the names the world has called you, and perhaps even the names you have called yourself in moments of deep self-criticism: failure, mistake-prone, anxious, unworthy, insufficient. These labels are nothing more than temporary chalk marks on a profound and permanent masterpiece. I want you to discard those false titles and embrace the power of the new name I gave you. When I look at you, my perspective is not based on your history, but on my finished work and the ultimate potential I placed within you. My grace does not just change your circumstance, it changes your status. It gives you a new, definitive name that establishes your eternal reality and defines your relationship with me. What is this new name? It is not a single word, but a declaration of your permanent condition under my grace: forgiven, accepted, redeemed, beloved. These are not aspirational goals, they are settled facts. You do not strive to be forgiven, you are forgiven. You do not hope to be accepted, you are accepted. This new name is the ultimate shield against the accuser, the world's condemnation, and your own self-doubt. Think of the transformation of historical figures in your sacred texts. I often changed a person's name at the moment I ratified their destiny, not after they had perfected their character. I took a fearful fisherman and called him Rock. I took a persecutor and named him Chosen Vessel. I took a struggling, wrestling man and named him one who strives with God. The new name was a prophetic statement. It was a declaration of who they would become in my strength, not who they were in their own frailty. My dearest, when you walk in the new name I have given you, you are living from the outcome, not the process. When you face a situation that previously would have caused you to cower, The memory of your old name whispers, "You are too weak." But the power of your new name shouts, "I am an heir, sealed by grace. My Father's strength is my inheritance." This realization fundamentally shifts your posture from defensiveness to confidence. The practice of embracing your new name is one of active spiritual remembrance. Every morning, before the day's demands begin to label you, declare who you are in my eyes. When you stumble, do not allow the default setting of your mind to call you failure. Instead, pivot and say, "I made a mistake, but I am forgiven. My identity is redeemed. I will stand up and continue, not in my strength, but in my Father's grace." The labels of the past are chains that keep you bound to old patterns. The new name is the key to your liberation. It sets the standard for how you treat yourself and how you allow others to treat you. You are a beloved child, and you deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, and kindness, starting with the way you speak to yourself in your own mind. I invite you now, my precious one, to write this new name on the tablet of your heart. Let it be the constant soundtrack of your life. When the world tries to impose a negative label, let the truth of my grace override the falsehood. Your inherent value and your destiny are not defined by the fluctuating opinions of men or the residue of your mistakes. They are defined by my eternal declaration of who you are. Live today and every day from the settled reality of your new name. Loved, chosen, and eternally secure in my grace. This is your true, powerful identity. My beloved child, as you step more fully into the power of the new name I have given you, we must confront the invisible weights that can still attempt to drag you backward, the generational chains. I know that you carry more than just your own personal history. You carry the echoes of your lineage, patterns of fear, cycles of anxiety, habits of striving, emotional wounds, and perhaps even belief systems of lack or unworthiness that have been passed down through your family line, sometimes for centuries. You may find yourself reacting to situations with a deeply ingrained pattern that doesn't even feel like your own, a subtle spiritual inheritance that limits your ability to fully receive the freedom of my grace. I tell you now, with divine authority, that my grace is the ultimate chain breaker, and your life is the appointed pivot point for your entire lineage. Nothing that can remove you from my grace includes the weight of your family's history. You are not destined to repeat the failures, the sorrows, or the limitations of those who came before you. My grace does not stop at your skin. It flows through you, becoming the powerful current of healing that can restore the spiritual health of your entire family tree. Think of an elaborate, ancient tapestry that has been passed down through generations. Over time, the tapestry has developed dark, frayed, and damaged sections, the collective wounds of the family. You, my child, were born into this tapestry. You instinctively feel the pull of those damaged threads. But the moment you embraced my grace, I took the master weaver's scissors, my word, and I cut the binding cord that connected you to the negative spiritual inheritance, while preserving the beautiful, resilient threads of love and strength that are also part of your history. To walk free from these generational chains, you must engage in a process of conscious spiritual discernment and rejection. First, you must identify the patterns that are not truly yours. Ask me to reveal the anxieties, the anger, the financial fears, or the self-destructive behaviors that originated elsewhere. Once you see the chain, you must consciously declare, under the authority of my grace, that this cycle ends with you. This is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of sovereign decree. You are exercising the authority given to you by your new name. For example, if your family line was plagued by worry, you declare, "The spirit of anxiety ends here. I am a child of light, and my Father's peace is my inheritance." I break this chain in the power of my grace. Every time the familiar, inherited pattern tries to assert itself, you consciously choose the new way, the path of trusted abundance I have laid out for you. My grace provides the strength, the patience, and the wisdom to choose a new legacy. This is not easy work, my dearest, because these patterns are often deeply embedded. But you are not alone in the fight. I am the source of all healing, and I am empowering you to establish a new, righteous pattern of faith, peace, and abundance that will bless generations after you. You are creating a new spiritual inheritance, an inheritance of grace. The beauty of this is that as you heal, you subtly, powerfully influence those around you. Your liberation becomes a visible light, a living testament to the possibility of change. Your secure, peaceful way of being gives permission to others in your family to also step out of the shadows. Embrace your role as the generational anchor. Stand firm in the knowledge that my grace is more powerful than any chain of the past. You are free, my precious one. Now, walk in that freedom, and let your life be a beacon of hope for all those who follow. My beloved child, as you courageously break free from the chains of the past and step into your powerful new identity, you must now understand the protective reality that surrounds you. My steadfast love is a shield. In this world, you are exposed to many forms of attack, not just external challenges, but the inner assaults of doubt, the arrows of criticism from others, the unforeseen betrayals, and the constant pressure to conform to standards that were never meant for you. These attacks can feel sharp and painful, sometimes making you want to retreat and hide. But I tell you, my dearest, that you are not vulnerable. You are enveloped in a divine, impenetrable defense. My steadfast love, my peace, as you know it, is a covenant love that is utterly loyal, fiercely protective, and completely unwavering. It is the unshakable certainty that no matter what comes against you, I am for you, and my commitment to you is absolute. This commitment operates as your ultimate spiritual shield. Imagine a highly trained warrior entering battle. The warrior does not fight unprotected. He wears a shield that is perfectly fitted, strong enough to deflect the most powerful blows. But this shield is not heavy and cumbersome. It is an extension of the warrior's will, enabling fluid movement and courageous offense. My steadfast love is exactly this. It is the perfect defense that simultaneously grants you the perfect freedom to move into your purpose. You are shielded not to hide, but to fight the good fight of faith without fear of eternal damage. The greatest power of this shield is not that it prevents the storms from coming, for storms are a natural part of growth, but that it prevents the storms from removing you from my grace. The blows of disappointment or the sting of betrayal may land, but they cannot penetrate the core truth of your acceptance. When a painful event occurs, the shield of my love ensures that your root system, your identity in me, remains untouched and secure. The pain is temporal, the security is eternal. The enemy's primary tactic is to convince you that the shield is flimsy, or that you have a gap in your armor that your sin has created. He whispers, because you failed there, the next attack will certainly destroy you. But my grace declares that the shield is not maintained by your perfection. It is maintained by my eternal oath. Your grace status is the shield. Nothing you do can diminish its protective power, because its strength comes from me. To utilize this shield, you must engage in the active practice of faith. When you feel the hot sting of self-doubt or external criticism, instead of absorbing it, you must consciously lift the shield of my truth. Say, I will not absorb that lie. My Father's love is my shield. I am not defined by this failure. I am defined by His grace. This is the discipline of protecting your inner peace by deflecting all contradictory external voices. My deepest desire for you, my precious one, is that you walk through this life with the quiet confidence of a beloved child who knows their father is omnipotent and fiercely loyal. You do not have to live defensively, flinching at every shadow. Live proactively, courageously, and creatively, knowing that my steadfast love has covered every angle. Rest in the certainty that no weapon formed against you, spiritual or relational, can ultimately prosper against the divine protection of my grace. You are safe, you are sealed, and you are shielded forever by a love that is absolutely loyal. Walk forth with courage. My beloved child, having anchored yourself in the security of my steadfast love, we now turn our focus to the magnificent reason for your existence, your divine purpose. I see how many of my children struggle relentlessly to find their purpose, treating it like a hidden treasure map they must frantically solve, or a towering achievement they must strive ceaselessly to build. This pursuit, when driven by anxiety and performance, becomes a heavy burden, a source of constant frustration and burnout. I want to offer you a liberating truth. Your purpose is found in acceptance, not in striving. Your calling is not a difficult equation solved by superior effort. It is the natural, joyful overflow of your established, secure identity in my grace. When you try to earn your worth by achieving a great purpose, you are putting the cart before the horse. My divine order is this: first, absolute acceptance, then, meaningful action. If your motivation for pursuing purpose is the fear of being insignificant, or the need to justify the grace I have given you, then your efforts will always be tainted by anxiety and self-doubt. You will constantly measure your results against others, and every setback will feel like a profound threat to your core identity. This striving is exhausting because it is effort without grace as the fuel. But when you truly settle into the acceptance that nothing can remove you from my grace and that your worth is already infinite, your pursuit of purpose changes entirely. The motivation shifts from earning to expressing. You no longer have to do great things to be valuable. You get to do the things I designed for you, simply because you are love and you desire to partner with me. Think of an analogy of a flowing river. A river does not strain or strive to flow toward the sea. It simply flows because of the fundamental force of gravity and the abundance of its source. Its purpose, to bring life, to irrigate the land, to generate power, is an automatic result of its nature, not its struggle. My dearest, when you are settled in my acceptance, you become like that river. The life I placed within you begins to flow naturally toward the purpose I ordained. You find that the talents, passions, and unique insights I placed in you are the very things I use to bless the world. Your purpose is not some external, demanding chore. It is the beautiful, authentic expression of your unique soul, operating from a place of secure rest. The key to unlocking this effortless purpose is attentiveness and availability, not overwhelming activity. Stop frantically searching for the grand, impossible task, and start simply asking me, Father, what is the next gentle step? What small act of love or service are you calling me to right now, from this place of acceptance? Often, your greatest purpose is found in the simple, faithful execution of your daily life, illuminated by the light of my love. When you operate from acceptance, you are free to risk failure, because the failure of a task cannot touch the security of your soul. You are free to be vulnerable, because you don't need to impress me or anyone else. Your life becomes a calm, steady stream of goodness, guided by my gentle hand, flowing from the abundance of my grace. Lay down the heavy burden of striving for significance, my child. Your significance is not measured by the applause of men or the size of your achievements. It is measured by my decree of your belovedness. Rest in your acceptance and watch as your true, beautiful purpose rises naturally, effortlessly, and joyfully to the surface. Your greatest impact will come not from what you do in your own strength, but from the life I am flowing through you from a place of unshakable security. My precious one, we have established that your purpose flows naturally from your acceptance in my grace, freeing you from the crushing weight of striving. Now, I want to give you the practical key to maintaining and multiplying this effortless way of living, the key to unlocking divine flow. This is the secret to moving through your life with a supernatural ease, where resistance diminishes, opportunities align, and your spiritual and material needs are met, not through anxious effort, but through a constant, abundant stream. Divine flow is simply the harmony between your will and my will, facilitated entirely by the conduit of my grace. It is the experience of living in such alignment with my spirit that you feel carried forward, rather than having to push and shove your way through life. It is the realization that you are not generating the power, you are merely cooperating with the infinite power that is already flowing through you. The chief impediment to divine flow is spiritual and emotional clutter, often manifesting as unresolved guilt, fear of the future, and the refusal to fully forgive yourself or others. These unaddressed issues create friction points, spiritual blockages that resist the smooth, gentle current of my grace. You try to move forward, but you feel like you are paddling a boat with a heavy anchor dragging behind you. The key to unlocking divine flow, therefore, is radical, continuous release, the conscious decision to keep the channels of your heart clear and open to my cleansing power. This means instantly surrendering every anxious thought, every moment of self-recrimination, and every flicker of unforgiveness the moment it arises. It means trusting that nothing can remove you from my grace, and therefore, there is no need to hold on to any fear or guilt as a safety mechanism. Think of an irrigation system designed to bring life-giving water to a dry field. The system is meticulously engineered for perfect flow, but if debris, mud, rocks, or leaves clogs the pipes, the water slows to a trickle or stops entirely. The goal is not to force more water into the system. The goal is to clear the pipes. My dearest, my grace is the infinite source of water, and your heart is the irrigation system. The mud and rocks are your attempts at self-justification, your refusal to forgive the past, and your desire to control the future. When you practice radical release and accept my complete forgiveness, you are essentially clearing the pipes. The flow resumes, and the dry fields of your life, your creativity, your finances, your relationships, begin to flourish effortlessly. This divine flow is what makes true, non-striving productivity possible. When you are in the flow, you find that the things you used to spend hours struggling over now seem to happen with ease. The right words come at the right time. The right people show up precisely when they are needed. Your energy is preserved because you are relying on my strength, not yours. I invite you to practice this today. Whenever you feel resistance, anxiety, or strain, stop and use the key of release. Say, I feel friction. I must be holding on to something. I release this worry, this guilt, this striving, and I surrender to the divine flow of my Father's grace. This simple act of surrender is your acknowledgement that my grace is your sufficient power. My grace is not static. It is a dynamic, living energy meant to propel you forward. Stop trying to swim against the current. Lay down your oars, cast off the anchors of guilt and control, and simply allow the powerful, gentle current of my love to carry you forward into the purpose I designed for you. Unlock the flow, my precious one, and watch the abundance I have waiting for you manifest with glorious ease. My beloved child, we have seen how my grace dissolves fear, purges the past, and unlocks the divine flow in your life. Now, we must bring all these truths together to solidify your identity in one definitive, powerful transformation, moving from victim to victor. I know that certain experiences in your life, trauma, betrayal, chronic disappointment, or the weight of your own repeated failures, have left deep emotional imprints. These imprints often translate into a victim mindset, a posture where you feel that life is happening to you, that you lack agency, and that you are permanently defined by the negative things you have endured. This mindset is one of the most crippling lies the enemy tells you, because it attempts to nullify the power of my grace. It suggests that your past pain is stronger than my present redemption. But I declare over you now, with absolute certainty, you are not a victim of your history. You are a victor because of my grace. Your story is not a tragedy. It is a grace story of overcoming, resilience, and radical transformation. The shift from victim to victor is not about denying the reality of your pain. It is about redefining the meaning of that pain. A victim sees the past event as a final definition. I am the one who was betrayed. A victor sees the past event as a powerful setup for a testimony. I am the one who survived betrayal, and my Father's grace restored me to trust. The event is the same, but the lens of grace changes the conclusion. Think of the mighty current of a waterfall. A victim mindset views the waterfall as a relentless, downward force that will crush and destroy. A victor mindset, anchored in my grace, sees the waterfall as immense power that can be harnessed to generate light and energy. The challenge remains, but your relationship to its power is completely transformed. You realize that the very pressure that was meant to break you is the very pressure that created the diamond of your resilience. My grace gives you the necessary spiritual agency to step into your role as a victor. It empowers you to stop reacting to the world from a position of defense and scarcity, and start acting from a position of abundance and authority. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And you start asking, "Since this happened, what great work will my Father do through me?" To live as a victor, you must consciously release the comfort of your narrative of suffering. Often, the victim mindset offers a perverse form of comfort. It gives you an excuse for self-pity, or a reason to stay small and safe. Stepping into victory requires courage, because it means accepting full responsibility for your response to life, and choosing faith over fear. It means using the scars we talked about, not as trophies of pain, but as badges of my redemptive power in your life. Your story, my dearest, is a grace story precisely because nothing can remove you from my love, meaning there is no failure or trauma that can permanently sideline your purpose. Every setback becomes a slingshot, every disappointment becomes a pivot point, and every moment of surrender becomes a fresh infusion of my strength. Your history is not a chain. It is a powerful platform from which you can declare the triumph of my grace. Today, choose to stand tall in your victory. Reject every label that attempts to diminish your worth or your potential. Your life is not a result of what was done to you. It is a monument to what I have done for you and in you. Embrace this magnificent truth. You are not defined by the pain you suffered, but by the power you carry, the unstoppable, overflowing power of my grace. My dearest, do not turn away. Listen closely, because what comes next is a vital truth about how my grace works in your moments of stumbling, the difference between correction and condemnation. You are on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding my unconditional patience. Do not allow the subtle distraction of the world to cut this divine conversation short. The fullness of your peace awaits those who complete this sacred appointment. If this message has solidified your identity from victim to victor, demonstrate your faith by liking this video and watching it to the very end. Your share with 3 people who are struggling to overcome their past will bring my light to their darkness. And subscribe right now to keep your spirit anchored in these liberating truths of grace. My gentle instruction is next. My beloved child, as we confirm your status as a victor secured by my grace, we must address the reality of your ongoing growth. You are perfectly loved, but you are not yet perfected. There will be times when you stumble, when you veer off the path I have illuminated for you, and when your actions cause harm, either to yourself or to others. In those moments, the human heart often expects a fierce, condemning judgment, a moment of sharp punishment that confirms the worst fears planted by the accuser. But I want to introduce you to the gentle correction of love. My dearest, when you fail, my response is never condemnation. It is always compassionate correction. The reason I correct you is not to punish you for being wrong, but to guide you toward what is right, to lead you back to the place of peace, abundance, and freedom that I have designed for you. My correction is an act of my grace, the proof that I am your involved, committed father, not a distant, passive observer. Think of a skilled master craftsman teaching an apprentice. When the apprentice makes a significant error, a misplaced cut, a faulty join, the master does not scream or fire the apprentice. Instead, the master gently takes the tool, demonstrates the proper technique, and explains, with patience, why the error occurred and how it must be fixed to achieve the desired result. The master's focus is entirely on restoration and instruction, ensuring the apprentice learns and grows into mastery. The error is an opportunity for teaching, not a cause for rejection. You are my apprentice, my precious one, and I am the master craftsman. When you stumble, I don't withdraw my love. I simply use the situation as a moment to draw you closer and whisper the truth you need to hear. My correction sounds like this: my child, you are running in the wrong direction, and that path leads to pain. Look up. Remember my promise. My grace is here, waiting to lift you and set your feet back on the path of peace. The key distinction is this: condemnation looks backward and says, "You are bad because of what you did." Correction looks forward and says, "You are beloved, and here is how we move forward, better equipped." Condemnation isolates. Correction invites intimacy. Condemnation seeks to diminish your worth. Correction seeks to elevate your character. Since nothing can remove you from my grace, every moment of correction is simply a navigational tool to keep you safely within the boundaries of my blessing. When you feel the gentle conviction of my spirit, that quiet, internal nudge that tells you something is out of alignment, do not interpret it as a sign of my displeasure. Interpret it as the proof of my presence and my investment in your future. It means I see your potential, and I will not allow you to settle for anything less than the abundant life I have guaranteed you. To receive this gentle correction, you must cultivate an attitude of humble receptivity. When the mistake is revealed, do not immediately become defensive or fall into shame. Instead, acknowledge the error, accept the instruction, receive the instant forgiveness, and immediately implement the change. This swift pivot, without the baggage of self-punishment, is the most mature response to my grace. Embrace your missteps not as failures, but as divine assignments for accelerated growth. Trust that the hand guiding you is not wielded in anger, but extended in infinite, patient love. This is the comfort of my grace. Even when you stray, the voice that calls you back is the tender, steady, and unwavering voice of your loving Father. Allow my love to guide your growth, my child, not your fear of punishment. My beloved child, the gentle correction of my love guides your steps. But there is one area where the human heart consistently struggles, often leading to deep anxiety: trusting my timing, not your calendar. I see the detailed timelines you create, the deadlines you set for your breakthroughs, your healing, your relationships, and your financial freedom. When your calendar flips past your expected date and the promise has not yet materialized, the enemy capitalizes on the fear of delay. You begin to doubt my faithfulness, questioning, did I miss my chance? Is my Father late? Has my grace run out? I declare to you, my dearest, that my timing is an act of my grace, perfectly tailored to your unique journey. My delays are never denials. They are often simply divine protection from a premature breakthrough that you are not yet spiritually or emotionally prepared to handle. Your calendar operates in linear time, but I operate in eternal wisdom, seeing the whole pattern simultaneously. Think of the process of cultivating a rare, valuable fruit. The gardener knows the exact moment the seed must be planted, the precise duration of the growing season, and the specific day the fruit must be picked for maximum sweetness and nourishment. If the gardener harvests the fruit too early, it is bitter and provides no sustenance. If the gardener waits too long, it spoils. The gardener's timing is precise, unhurried, and perfect. You, my child, are that valuable fruit, and I am the divine gardener. When you rush ahead of my timing, you risk arriving at the destination prematurely, only to find yourself ill-equipped to manage the blessing, or worse, facing a challenge you haven't been adequately strengthened to endure. The periods of waiting, the times that feel like stagnant delay on your human calendar, are precisely the moments when I am doing the essential work of preparation in your soul, deepening your roots of trust, refining your character, and removing the hidden debris that could sabotage your future success. The anxiety you feel over the delay is rooted in the lie that you must control the pace of your life. It is the belief that if you don't make it happen now, it might never happen. But your security rests in the knowledge that nothing can remove you from my grace. My grace guarantees the outcome of my promise, not the speed of its delivery. To unlock peace during the waiting season, you must consciously surrender your calendar to me. Every time the anxious thought of when, Father, rises, pivot immediately and declare, my Father's grace is sufficient for me in this waiting. His timing is perfect. I will not exchange the wisdom of eternity for the impatience of a moment. Embrace the present moment, my precious one. Do not live perpetually in the anxious future or the regrettable past. Your daily purpose is not to sprint toward the promised breakthrough. It is to abide in my presence today, drawing your daily bread of grace and trusting the unseen work I am performing. Rest in the quiet confidence that my love is too profound, and my purpose for you is too significant for me to ever forget or delay your blessing unnecessarily. The moment of breakthrough will arrive with a perfect inevitability, precisely when you are ready to receive it and when its impact will be maximized. Surrender your internal stopwatch, my child, and walk in the serene, unhurried rhythm of my perfect grace. The timing is mine, and my timing is always good. My beloved child, in our deep study of my grace, we have established the unshakable foundation of your security. Yet, I know that even the most grounded soul will encounter moments when the old, familiar enemy resurfaces, doubt. Doubt is the lack of spiritual certainty, the internal argument that attempts to override the settled truth with anxious speculation. It is the insidious voice that says, what if all this grace is just a beautiful idea? What if I am the exception? What if I can be removed? Moments feel frightening because doubt can scream loudly, threatening to drown out the quiet assurance of my love. I want to offer you a new way to interact with these moments. My desire is not that you live a life entirely free of doubt, for to be human is to wrestle with uncertainty, but that you reach a point where your doubts become whispers, not screams. My grace provides the environment for this transformation. Doubt screams when it is fueled by your fear and your agreement. When you react to a doubt with panic, when you frantically try to generate emotional certainty, you give the doubt immense power. You are essentially handing the microphone to the enemy. But when you anchor yourself in the truth that nothing can remove you from my grace, you can disarm the doubt and reduce its volume. Think of an analogy of a raging bonfire. When you toss dry wood and kindling onto the fire, it flares up, consuming everything around it. This is doubt when it is fueled by fear and self-condemnation. However, if you remove the fuel, if you stop adding your anxious energy and instead pour the cool, calm water of my established truth onto it, the fire shrinks. It does not disappear instantly, but the raging flame reduces to a small, contained ember. That ember is the whisper of doubt, present, but no longer dominating your landscape. The practice of transforming doubt into a whisper is one of spiritual redirection. When the wave of uncertainty crashes over you, do not engage in a philosophical debate with it. Do not try to solve the doubt with your finite logic. Instead, immediately redirect your focus to the single, non-negotiable fact: my grace is immutable. You stop arguing with the lie and start declaring the truth. You shift your internal statement from, I doubt my worth because of this failure, to I am certain of my Father's grace despite this momentary doubt. This is the key, my child. Certainty in me is the only cure for doubt about yourself. When you root your security in my character, my faithfulness, my compassion, my constancy, you establish a rock upon which the waves of doubt cannot dismantle you. You accept that doubt is a visitor, a feeling that will pass, not a permanent resident of your soul. I have given you everything you need to navigate these uncertainties. You have my word, which is the undeniable record of my promises. You have my Spirit, who is the quiet, constant assurance within you. And you have the history of your own life, a living testimony to my previous faithfulness. When doubt whispers, remember the moments I showed up for you before, the moments I sustained you in the fire. Embrace the freedom that comes from knowing that even if you struggle with doubt, your struggle does not disconnect you from my love. My grace holds you secure, not because your faith is perfect, but because my love is. Allow the gentle, steady sound of my grace to drown out the frantic screams of doubt. Let the truth of your permanent position in my heart settle the uncertainty. Walk forward, not with perfect clarity, but with quiet, profound confidence in the God who holds you fast. My beloved child, as we continue to silence the shouts of doubt and anchor your soul in the profound security of my grace, we must focus on the ultimate assurance that underpins all others, the certainty of your eternal inheritance. The life you are living now, with its joys and struggles, is a temporary, fleeting journey. But you are destined for something far greater, something incorruptible, and something eternally guaranteed by my love, your full inheritance, as my child. This is the truth that absolutely obliterates the fear that you might ultimately fail, fall short, or be rejected at the final moment. The world teaches you that an inheritance is dependent on a last will and testament, which can be contested, or on a relative who might change their mind. But I tell you, my dearest, that your eternal inheritance is sealed by an unbreakable, eternal covenant and is guaranteed by my own nature. It is not something you might earn at the end. It is something you possess right now, a settled spiritual reality that simply awaits its full manifestation. Think of an analogy of a royal heir who, though still living abroad and preparing for his duties, already possesses the title deeds to his vast estate. He doesn't have to worry about rent, provision, or stability, because his future is secured by the certainty of his lineage and his pre-existing claim. His current discomforts or temporary needs are simply part of the journey home. They do not negate the vast, promised wealth that is already legally his. My child, you are that heir. Your eternal inheritance includes not just the promise of perfect life with me, but also the present spiritual riches of peace, joy, strength, and unwavering security. The moment you accepted my grace, you were sealed with the down payment, my indwelling spirit, who is the absolute guarantee that the rest of the inheritance will follow. This down payment is the quiet assurance in your heart that you belong to me forever. The fear that your sin or struggle might disqualify you from this future is the most persistent lie the enemy tells. It attempts to reintroduce the concept of performance into a transaction secured by grace. But I want you to remember the central theme of our conversation. Nothing can remove you from my grace. Your inheritance is safe, not because of your perfection in the interim, but because of my perfect faithfulness to my promise. This certainty of inheritance is meant to be your greatest source of courage today. When you face a difficult choice, you are not gambling with your destiny. When you risk vulnerability, you are not risking your acceptance. You can afford to be bold, to be generous, and to live with radical trust, because your most important security, your eternal outcome, is already settled. I invite you to pause and allow the weight of this certainty to settle deep into your spirit. The worries you carry about the final accounting, the concerns about the unforgivable sin, the anxiety about judgment, all of these dissolve in the face of this truth. The final verdict has already been decided. You are mine. You are coming home. Your seat at the eternal table is secured. Life today, my precious one, not as a desperate pauper trying to scratch out a living, but as a wealthy heir who is simply managing the temporal estate until the full transfer takes place. This perspective transforms the mundane into the sacred, and it fills your heart with a profound, unshakable peace. Rest in the final, eternal truth. Your place is guaranteed, your future is secure, and my love will hold you fast until the day you step fully into the glory of your eternal inheritance. My beloved child, as the certainty of your eternal inheritance settles your spirit, we must address a very common, yet insidious, habit that actively works to steal the peace of your present moment. Comparison is a thief of grace. I see how often you glance sideways at the paths of others, their perceived successes, their spiritual disciplines, their material blessings, or even their seemingly flawless composure, and you use their life as a measuring stick for your own. When you do this, you inevitably conclude that you are lacking, insufficient, or moving too slowly. This act of comparison is a direct rejection of the customized, unique, and deeply personal grace I have poured over your life. The moment you compare your journey to another's, you are essentially saying, "Father, the grace you provided for me is not sufficient. I need the grace you gave them." This is a denial of my sovereignty and my specific wisdom in designing your path. Comparison breeds envy, anxiety, and a feeling of perpetual inadequacy, because you are trying to wear a garment of purpose that was never tailored for you. It replaces the deep, internal satisfaction of my grace with a shallow, external pursuit of likeness. Think of an analogy of a masterful symphony. Every instrument in the orchestra is essential, but each plays a completely different role. The powerful brass section has a bold, commanding sound, while the delicate string section produces a high, intricate melody. If the violin player looks at the tuba and says, "My sound is not loud enough, therefore I am failing," the entire composition is ruined, and the unique beauty of the violin is lost in a fruitless attempt to emulate the brass. My dearest, you are a unique instrument in my divine orchestra. Your purpose, your timing, your struggles, and your gifts are specifically calibrated to create a sound that only you can produce. The grace I poured into your life is perfectly sufficient for the piece I have written for you to play. Your struggles are not a sign of failure. They are simply the unique, difficult notes that make your melody so profound. When you compare, you are forgetting two essential truths of my grace. First, you are comparing your messy, complex reality to someone else's carefully curated highlight reel. You do not see their hidden battles, their private doubts, or the deep price they may have paid. Second, and more importantly, you are forgetting that my grace is personal and customized. The strength I gave your neighbor to face their external challenges might be different from the patience I gave you to master your internal discipline. Both are grace. Both are perfect for the task assigned. To defeat this thief, you must practice radical gratitude for your own journey. Every time the urge to compare rises, stop and pivot your focus. Instead of saying, "Why don't I have what they have?" consciously declare, "Thank you, Father, for the unique, perfect grace you have given me. I am grateful for my current season, my unique gifts, and the specific lessons I am learning. Your love for me is complete, and your provision for me is sufficient." This act of gratitude shuts down the comparison factory. It acknowledges that your worth is already settled by my acceptance, and your fulfillment comes from faithfully walking the path I have laid out, not from mimicking someone else's stride. Embrace the beautiful, unique expression of my life that is flowing through you. Your journey is sacred and incomparable. You have a profound peace when you live within the boundaries of my personal grace for you. Cast off the heavy burden of measuring yourself against others, my precious one, and walk forward in the confidence that you are exactly where I intend for you to be, perfectly equipped with the grace you need for today. Your beauty is in your authenticity. My beloved child, we have journeyed through the deep truths of my grace, extinguishing the fires of guilt, silencing the whispers of doubt, and establishing your identity as a victor. And now, as we approach the final, beautiful conclusion of this divine conversation, I want to leave you with a liberating perspective that must govern your every future step. Your story is still being written by my hand. I see the moments when you are tempted to despair, when a new setback arrives, or when an old, familiar struggle resurfaces, and you tragically feel the urge to put down the pen of your life. You look at the current chapter and declare, "This is the end. This struggle defines me. My story is over, and it's not the triumphant ending I hoped for." This is the ultimate, subtle failure of faith, believing that the chapter you are currently reading is the final page of the entire book. I tell you now, my dearest, that my grace is the author and finisher of your faith, and I have not finished writing your story. Your current pain is merely a dramatic climax, a dark chapter designed to highlight the glorious triumph of my intervention. The struggle is necessary to showcase the magnitude of the redemption I am bringing. If your story were already complete, I would not be speaking to you now. The very fact that you are drawing breath and listening to my voice is the undeniable proof that your narrative is still unfolding, and the best parts are yet to be revealed. Think of the structure of every great narrative. There are always moments of deep tension, times when the protagonist faces insurmountable odds, moments of despair and confusion. If the story ended there, it would be a tragedy. But a skilled writer uses that tension to build anticipation for the inevitable resolution, the moment of transformation, the moment the hero rises, and the moment all the threads are woven together into a masterful, satisfying conclusion. My grace guarantees your conclusion, my child. Since nothing can remove you from my grace, I've guaranteed that the ending of your personal narrative will be one of glory, purpose, and profound peace. Your role is not to worry about the final outcome. Your role is simply to remain available to my hand as I write the next sentence, the next paragraph, and the next chapter. This truth provides immense freedom in the face of setbacks. When you fall, you don't declare the book closed. You simply acknowledge a messy sentence and allow me to begin the next one. When you face an impossible obstacle, you don't panic. You wait with quiet expectation to see how your all-powerful author will write the great escape. You stop trying to force the plot or skip ahead to the end. You embrace the beauty of the present moment, knowing it is precisely where my creative power is at its highest. I invite you to surrender your pen to me entirely. Stop trying to edit, rewrite, or prematurely conclude your own life story based on the limited view of today. Trust the author. Trust my vision, which is perfect and complete. Every sorrow I allow is a setup for a greater joy. Every struggle I permit is a necessary scene for the eventual demonstration of my strength. Live today with the confident expectation of a reader who knows the author is a God of love, and therefore, the final chapter is guaranteed to be good. Your story is not yet finished. The next page holds a revelation of my grace waiting for you. Turn the page, my beloved one, and witness the ongoing masterpiece I am creating through your life. My dearest, do not turn away, because what comes next is the most vital, simple truth about the mechanics of your peace, the very essence of how to remain in my love effortlessly. You are on the verge of receiving the final keys to a life of sustained, non-striving rest. Do not let the subtle distractions of this world cut this divine conversation short. The fullness of your spiritual freedom awaits those who complete this sacred journey. If this message has filled you with the confident expectation of a glorious future, affirm this faith by liking this video and watching it to the very end. Share this empowering message with 3 souls who are discouraged about their life story and need to know their author is not finished. And subscribe right now to keep your spirit anchored in the truths that guarantee your magnificent conclusion. The simple secret to sustained peace is next. My beloved child, we have journeyed through the complexities of human fear and the magnificence of my redemption. And now we arrive at the most beautiful, most central, and often the most elusive truth, the simplicity of remaining in my love. After all the profound doctrines and powerful revelations, you might expect the method for sustained peace to be a complicated, rigorous regimen. But I tell you that the secret is a profound simplification, a resting, not a working. It is the conscious choice to simply remain in the grace that already holds you. The human mind, accustomed to earning and striving, makes the mistake of treating love and grace as something that must be constantly maintained through effort. You look for spiritual metrics, seeking confirmation that you are doing it right. But this search for complexity is the very thing that introduces anxiety and blocks the flow of peace. I call you to a relationship that is as natural and effortless as breathing. Think of the relationship between the moon and the gravitational pull of the earth. The moon does not frantically spin or strive to stay in orbit. It simply remains in the powerful, invisible field of gravity that holds it fast. If the moon were to stop and try to calculate the necessary speed and vector to maintain its position, it would surely fail. Its security is based entirely on the massive, consistent, unchangeable force of the greater body. My dearest, I am the greater, unchangeable force. You are securely held in the orbit of my love, not by your delicate, fluctuating effort, but by the massive, consistent, non-negotiable power of my grace. To remain in my love is simply to stop resisting the gravitational pull of my acceptance. It is the cessation of the anxious question, am I still in? And the confident embrace of the settled reality, I am already here, and nothing can remove me. This simplicity manifests in your daily life through 2 powerful acts, intentional acceptance and instantaneous return. Intentional acceptance means beginning your day not by asking for worthiness, but by declaring it. I receive my Father's complete grace today. I am loved and accepted, regardless of my performance. This sets your spiritual compass for the day, grounding you in the finality of your position. Instantaneous return is the practice we spoke of earlier. The immediate pivot when you realize you have stumbled. When you make a mistake, do not wallow in shame for 3 days, trying to feel worthy to come back. That is striving. Simplicity is realizing the stumble did not break the gravitational pull, and you instantly return to the reality of my forgiveness. You say, I earn. My grace is sufficient. I turn and walk forward in His love. No drama, no penance, just a swift, confident return. The world complicates your relationship with me because the world wants to sell you on self-help and performance. I offer you grace and rest. The most profound spiritual truth is that it is not your grip on me that secures you. It is my absolute, unyielding grip on you. Since nothing can remove you from my grace, the task of remaining is simply the willingness to relax your striving and let my love hold you. Embrace this sacred simplicity, my precious one. Let go of the need to earn or maintain. Rest in the knowledge that your peace is not a reward for your diligence. It is the natural byproduct of your dependence on my absolute love. Remain in me, not by working harder, but by trusting deeper. This easy, peaceful way of life is the culmination of all the truths we have explored together, and it is the divine rhythm I designed for you. Rest. You are home. My beloved child, having settled into the profound simplicity of remaining in my love, we must acknowledge the beautiful and often lengthy process that accompanies this rest, embracing the journey of healing. I know that you carry wounds that are deep, wounds from past trauma, from relational betrayals, and from years of self-rejection. My grace immediately and completely covers the spiritual guilt associated with these wounds, establishing your acceptance. However, the emotional and psychological healing of those deep places is a journey, a process that unfolds over time, and it requires your patient, gentle cooperation. The mistake many make is expecting my grace to instantly erase all emotional residue, as if a lifetime of pain can be dismantled in a single moment. When the emotional scar remains, they mistakenly conclude that my grace was insufficient, or that their faith was too weak. But I tell you, my dearest, that my grace is not a rush job. It is a deep, restorative process that honors your human complexity. Healing is not the absence of the scar, it is the transformation of the memory and the restoration of the soul's resilience around that scar. Think of a physical wound that requires surgery. The grace of the surgeon immediately removes the infection and sets the bone, preventing permanent damage. That is my immediate salvation and forgiveness. But after the surgery, the body must still go through weeks or months of recovery, physical therapy, and gentle rest to regain its full strength. The pain subsides slowly, the tissue mends over time, and strength is built through patient, repeated effort. This is the nature of your emotional healing. My grace provides the ultimate spiritual anti-inflammatory, allowing the pain to subside, but you must still participate in the physical therapy of the soul. This therapy includes gentle self-compassion, the courageous work of processing memory without shame, and the daily discipline of replacing old, destructive thought patterns with the powerful truths of my love. You must be patient with the speed of your healing, recognizing that the deep roots of old habits and trauma cannot be pulled up in haste without causing further damage. The key to embracing this journey is gentleness and non-judgment. Stop scolding yourself for the speed of your recovery. Stop comparing your healing timeline to anyone else's. Your journey is unique, and I am the only one who knows the necessary depth and duration of the work required. When a painful memory arises, my grace empowers you to meet it, not with shame or fear, but with quiet compassion. You can say, yes, that pain was real, but my Father's love is realer. I lay this memory down under the covering of His grace and choose to focus on the healing that is underway. I am calling you into a posture of radical self-acceptance in the middle of the process. You are not fully healed yet, and that is perfectly okay. My love for you is not dependent upon your wholeness. I love you in your brokenness. I love you in your recovery, and I will celebrate your final restoration. The scars will remain, but they will eventually become, as we discussed, the golden lines of your Kintsugi masterpiece, marks of resilience and deep beauty. Embrace the slowness, my child. Trust the process. Be kind to the vulnerable, recovering parts of your soul. My grace provides the energy for every step of this journey, ensuring that you will not grow weary or lose heart. Know that I am with you in every moment of this healing, gently guiding you toward the complete, beautiful restoration I have ordained for your life. The work is ongoing, and the victory is certain. My beloved child, we now approach the final, definitive truth that must forever settle every remaining doubt and anchor your soul in absolute security. The finality of my pardon. We have spoken of forgiveness, of purging the past, and of casting your mistakes into the sea. But I want to elevate this truth to its ultimate, eternal standing. My pardon for your sins, past, present, and future, is not a probationary period, a conditional release, or a temporary suspension of judgment. It is a final, irrevocable, and eternal decree that renders you permanently and completely clean in my sight. I know the lingering question that haunts the edges of your mind. What if there is a mistake so terrible, a lapse so grievous, that even after all this, I could still jeopardize my standing? This fear stems from the human tendency to believe in limits and thresholds, that there must be a point of no return. But I tell you, my dearest, that my grace is without limit, and my pardon is without retraction. Think of the spiritual reality of your standing with me. The moment you accepted my grace, your identity was spiritually transferred. You were removed from the realm of condemnation and placed permanently into the realm of acceptance. This transfer was not dependent on your future good behavior. It was dependent on my eternal commitment. My pardon is a legal declaration issued by the Supreme Judge of the universe, and there is no higher court to appeal the decision. The verdict is final. Acquitted, accepted, beloved. The concept of the unforgivable sin is often twisted by fear to mean a mistake made in ignorance or weakness. I assure you that the only truly unforgivable sin is the final, eternal rejection of the very grace I am offering, the conscious, deliberate choice to refuse my pardon and my love. As long as your heart beats with the desire for me, as long as you turn your face toward my light, you are completely within the boundary of my forgiveness. My grace does not just cover your past, it covers the entire lifespan of your human frailty. When I issued my pardon, I saw your entire timeline, every stumble, every weak moment, every fear, and I factored them all into the complete price I paid. Therefore, when you make a mistake today, you are not committing a new sin that requires a new payment. You are simply activating the existing, eternal pardon that was already extended to you. Your mistake is not a surprise to me. It is already accounted for in the abundance of my mercy. This finality of pardon is meant to be the profound source of your freedom from anxiety. When the accuser tries to dredge up an old failure, you do not have to argue the details of the charge. You simply point to the seal of my finished work and declare, the pardon is final. The debt is paid. The case is closed forever. You are not living in the tenuous space of maybe. You are living in the absolute certainty of done. Rest in this final, glorious truth, my precious one. You are eternally safe. Your security is not based on your ability to hold on to my grace, but on my absolute ability to hold on to you. My grip is perfect, my love is endless, and my pardon is the unchangeable seal upon your soul. Walk forward in this absolute confidence, knowing that nothing, not even your own human fragility, can remove you from my final, eternal grace. You are completely, permanently, and irrevocably mine. My beloved child, we have come to the close of this sacred time together, a journey into the unshakable truth that nothing can remove you from my grace. You have heard the definitive truth. Your identity is not based on your performance, but on my unconditional love. Your past is purged, your future is secure, and my unwavering commitment to you is the most powerful force in the universe. Now, let us seal these truths into your spirit with a final blessing and a prayer of confident surrender. Close your eyes, my dearest, or simply look inward, and let the quiet certainty of my presence envelop you. Feel the warmth of my acceptance washing away the last lingering remnants of shame, guilt, and the fear of rejection. I pray this over you, my precious child. May the truth that my grace is sufficient for you settle deep into the marrow of your bones. May you forever be liberated from the exhausting myth of earning my love, and may you live every day from the profound, restful abundance of knowing you are wholly accepted, right now, just as you are. May the anxieties that once screamed at you diminish to whispers, instantly silenced by the knowledge that my sovereign plan for you is robust and guaranteed, flowing perfectly through your very imperfections. I pray that you embrace the simplicity of remaining in my love, resting in the powerful orbit of my affection, and recognizing that your security is in my unyielding grip on you, not your fragile hold on me. May you courageously accept the journey of healing, granting yourself the gentleness and patience that I so freely extend to you. And may you forever walk as a victor, using the scars of your past not as marks of shame, but as gleaming, golden testimony to the transformative power of my unwavering grace. Go forth, my beloved one, from this place with a quiet, profound confidence. You are not on probation. You are living in a permanent state of reconciliation. You are not waiting for me to love you more. You are learning to live from the fullness of the love I have already poured out. Let your life be a beautiful, radiant expression of this unshakable security. I have spoken my final, eternal word over you, and it is acceptance. Walk in peace. Walk in freedom. Walk in the certainty that you are my beloved, and my grace holds you fast. Amen.